on.
I got nothing!
Why did I do that?
You got something.
No.
How do you not get hit with that one?
Please don't. Mickey, please.
Somebody
Mickey,
scream
please.
Sora.
Mickey, please. Oh my god, how did I do that? Oh! Me. Oh, come on, magic. No! That appeared out of nowhere in front of me, on top of me. I'm still getting farther than you.
Shut the fuck up.
That appeared right in front of me.
Funny. I'm sorry for laughing, but that was really funny. It was just like, hi there. I'm getting away from this. No, you're not.
Because I had stopped when I saw Mickey had died, and I was like, shit.
First is also going to be in after they get makeup.
Sleep in darkness.
I need to see if I can get order some more beach cosmetics.
One lap finish.
Oh god. Oh, I just missed that. What? My controller just disconnected mid-race. Excuse you? Oh god. Come on. That was wild. I don't know... Like, my battery is full. It should not have disconnected like that, and I am probably gonna head off after this race. It should with my graphics.
Oh, I'm going up on the hill.
Maybe I'm blind, thinking I can see through this and see what's behind. I know where to prove it, so maybe I'm blind. I'm only human.
Oh my god!
I'm only human after all. Don't put your blame on me.
He
Are
was
you gonna come and get me?
right behind me. Please, my babies.
Boo, you're gonna fall.
Mm-hmm.
Boo, you're gonna fall.
He's perched.
What the fuck is... Toby,
I
you're
love
gonna
how you
fall
guys
now.
can see him up there. It's like... Toby! Toby! I wish we knew it was gonna happen, and Boo...
So smooth.
Boo is just like, I am king. This is my castle, and I'm waiting for Toby to just shove him off.
Put a banjo. Oh!
Hello, everybody, and welcome.
Oh my god, Ryan can't hear this,
Hi.
but I am.
All day.
What do you think is happening, Ryan?
Up and gonna happen. Alright guys, here is our trigger warning. Visual novel contains death, violent content, animal cruelty, imprisonment, and unaliving. This is presented by Fornoki. I've been seeing like bits and pieces about this game, and I'm just excited to try it. Oh my... There you go. Let's look at our options real quick. Audio. Excuse me. English, yes. Text. Controls and face. Ooh. Made in October of 2021. Alright. Yeah, I'm super excited for it. And I apologize if I mute myself randomly. I'm finishing my dinner is. I descended through a starry sky, my long blonde hair and red cape wildly as I looked around below me. Falling, 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 it's falling down this rabbit hole. Stars, no start nor end. Where had I gone? Where did I go? If I were forgetting something very important, I fell down, down, and down, sparkling, shining darkness. Bright to be dark, dark to be bright. Must have been chasing after someone, something. Like a girl who's sorry, we had a knock. Like a girl whose curiosity by the rabbit with the watch. I was falling, 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 down, 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 and this endless well seemed everywhere. Okay, yet nowhere at once. Neither the. What was it? Nice. Mm-hmm. I got. Alright, back again. Either the hole extended very deep, or I descended very slow. Was I truly even going downward? Perhaps this was all a dream, a fever dream, or worse, a fantasy that would be soon forgotten if it was had. I just held one certainty. Alice was. Now then, just how long was I supposed to keep falling? The air brushed past my fingers, my cloak ruffled upwards. A quiet humming breeze caressed my cheek, as if I could hear someone's voice. Pleasant voice, a woman's voice. Strained my ear for whispered wind. Alice, what a time for madness. Without a bit of fear or vertigo, should you not have focused on topics more pressing? Like the darkness or the light, or how you could awaken from this dream. But even now, you were just falling, falling. What does it matter? With a thump thump, I came upon the soft grass, all over. Not a bit hurt, forced myself to my feet. Up above my head, firmament whence I fell was not a tear in its canvas. Down about my eyes, only familiar, unfamiliar, surrounded me. I started an exploratory stroll. Oh, they're cute! Soon I stumbled upon a rabbit who looked like a girl who looked like a rabbit, Perhaps the correct answer was that she was both a girl and a rabbit. She had white hair and floppy rabbit ears, pale skin and purple eyes. Her hair was tied into a low ponytail by white ribbons. A clock pin adorned her bangs. She wore gloves, an oversized blue coat with golden accents, and a red vest with a dress shirt tied with a black ribbon. She also had khaki pants tucked into. She looked quite scared as she stood in the forest clearing, even holding her hands to her chest. Not lingering much longer on the species of rabbit before me, I called out to her. Excuse me. Calling out to her caused her to jump. Where is this place? Why was I here? How could I leave to return home? I thought of what to ask her, but she recognized me as soon as I spoke, so my questions were lost in my mouth unasked. She looked at me with troubled eyes. White Rabbit? Haven't you seen Her Majesty? Do you know where she's gone? No? Her Majesty the Red Queen. Taking a vacation of sorts. I only wish that she could have left the rabbit in. I'm in quite a panic. Land can't run without its queen. She then looked on a distracted look. Let me know if you catch sight of her. I nodded. Who this Red Queen was, I had not a clue, but a tingle of deja vu. Still, my acceptance of the request let the White Rabbit breathe a sigh of relief. Just as I prepared to pose my own question, she straightened back in surprise. I'm afraid to go. I'm going to be late. White Rabbit dashed off. Wanted to ask more questions. Never mind that. Follow her, Alice. Although I chased after her, with only a moment's pause, when I turned the corner she was nowhere to be seen. There was only a forest path before me. I found myself in a garden meticulously kept. There was a large white gazebo in the center of the table, chairs for tea. Hailing the rabbit, I barely dashed a few paces. I hadn't realized such a place was so close by. Rather, I hadn't realized I had run this far. A conjecture tickled in my mind, but this world I fell into a magical place, one with paths that pointed to one way, twisted another. With that explanation much more far-fetched than me, where I was running, I took a moment to catch my breath. Glancing around, I began my walk around the garden. Flowers and greenery all around, but not a person in sight. The place was beautiful. I wanted to meet a person. Not quite a gardening person myself, I still appreciated a pretty place and felt a swell of excitement to explore what sights could mean. A reminder of reality that dumped my joyful curiosity. I wanted some answers, a way out and back home. As pleasant as dreams were, one had to be able to awaken from them before they turned into nightmares. Whether this was a dream or reality had still yet to be seen. Step, walk around, hop, and peer over the bushes. Soon enough, I discovered the heart of the garden where one for tea. I spotted a white-haired girl in the garden. To amend my previous thoughts, wouldn't it be right to say that I would also appreciated a pretty person? Her hair was long and reached her shoulders, skin pale and her eyes light purple. She was also adorned with the regal blue and white dress that was so long that it hid her feet. Her expression was quite disdained and calm. Noticed bandages wrapped upon her right wrist, gently clasped over her left hand in front of her. Frivolous thoughts flew through my mind as our eyes met. Her gaze seemed to beckon me over. Her. Opened her mouth to speak. Are you enjoying the garden? The garden is beautiful. The gardener will be happy to hear that from you. However, if you have come here now, you will be searching for something. We should first fix ourselves. Gave me a sad smile. I am the White Queen. just like with the rabbit. With the rabbit, for some reason, it appeared to me. I already knew who it was. Here, that should be as good as a name. Majesty, I am Alice. Round. Stand on ceremony, Alice. I'm not somebody you need to speak with particularly respectfully. Welcome to my garden in Wonderland. Sad smile returned to her face. Wonderland, I taste the word on my... I can't remember why or how I got here. Not this garden, but Wonderland. Once again she frowned. It's falling, falling, falling. Remember why I was falling. I was simply falling, falling, falling until I fell no more. Sure, I'd forgotten something very important. And smile returned. You need not force yourself to remember. Some things are better left forgotten. Perhaps it was fated for you to come here. Perhaps something is must find. The world must appear like a place of dreams. Should find the queen. The missing queen whom the white rabbit mentioned was the red queen. Then came a troubled look. I waited for the white queen to continue. She hesitated to speak of the red queen, as if the elusive royal would appear like a ghost behind her as she spoke. I tried to imagine what person the red queen was. She will let you return to your own reality when you meet her. You should be able to find all of the answers you're seeking for. As for where she is, it's for you to discover. Just like her. At first she pursed her lips as if troubled again. Then came the same somber smile. That's a difficult question, Alice. So she's like that. I'll let you judge the Red Queen. You might learn something new about yourself. Shall I head off to find her now? Her face lit up a bit. What? Why not stay for some tea? Of course I'd love to, but it's not quite afternoon tea time yet. She smiled, this time much happier. A later time then. Certainly to have tea outside of tea time wouldn't do. Smile softened to a fond one as she lowered her lid. I won't keep you for much longer, Alice. I'm sure that you'll be able to find that person soon enough. Until later. Later. I waved goodbye to the Red Queen and departed from her garden. Glancing back, I saw her gaze upon me. The poor smile of hers turned somber again. I love that. Okay. I stepped into a twisting path in the forest. I didn't know which way to go to find the elusive Red Queen. Left or right. Find the Queen. I thought to seek the castle. However, the rabbit said that the Queen was missing, so unless the rabbit had forgotten something very important, shouldn't have been in the castle. Red Queen, like a troubling person. The way the White Queen's face froze, tongue stuttering along. The topic of the Red Queen made me wonder. Was the later Queen a tyrant or a fool? Tutor at home liked to talk about kingship of that sort. To me, either or neither were fine. After all, who were the peasantry to affect the mood of the High Queen? I hummed and walked along and with a skip in my step. Just as I reached a rhythm in my stride, I kicked a little something. An animal threw me off my beat. I slowed my plod, my mood a note dampened. Soon I heard the chatter of a girl a few trees away. Not much civilization here in the forest. I followed the voice of the girl. Although she was chatting, I heard her voice alone. She's so pretty. Passed by a few bushes and soon found a tea party in the middle of nowhere. At the table set before the tree sat the girl. A white cloth table was littered with all sorts of tea time things, from a tower with cookies and cupcakes to a rubber duck and a cake with knives in it, pitchers and dozens of tea tags and stacks of dishes. In the center, there even laid a green vase with dead, plucked apart red roses beside it. Some petals sat in the water. A girl with long pink hair and uneven side bangs, pale skinned, first eye red and second yellow, a smile on her face that contrasted with eye bags. Oh my gosh. Her outfit was just as chaotic as the table. Under her black trench coat was a loose dress shirt tied with a large purple ribbon. She also wore checkerboard purple pants, white lace-up shoes. On her gloved hands sat two hand puppets, a white hare with a yellow straw hat, a red bow tie, and a gray dormouse with a little flower perched by her ear. Most glaring of all was her large black top hat, uh, wrapped haphazardly in a pink purple ribbon with a piece of paper tied to it. Hello there, Alice. What did you come here for? Her chatter ceased. Her mismatched eyes pierced through in its place. I noticed a little fang in her mouth as she opened it. There's no room here at the table, so don't take a seat. No room, no room. Pearl gave a wide grin, as she won't frequently. In fact, it was rare that the smile was wiped off her face. She moved the puppets on her hand, a sleek mouse and a mad hare. Looking right to left, I could barely see the ends of the table set for tea. One person, such a large space. Conversely, lonely. There's plenty of room, Hatter. Smile shrunk a bit. To make my point, I took a seat in a large armchair across from the Hatter. The chair stunk of flowers, as if to clear away the shadow of unpleasant previous sitters. I sank back into it comfortably. Then I kept sinking, before I jolted back up with a shallow gasp. Three's plenty of crowd. That's rude of you to say, Alice. Not very civil of you to sit down without being invited either. She granted me a cheeky grin and a wink. But whatever. Let's just treat you as our extra guest for tomorrow. Today? Aren't they the same? Yesterday, today, tomorrow? Every day is never a day different. But since I'd rather not deal with it today, let's treat it as if for tomorrow. Dormouse and March don't mind. You mentioned three, but I only see one. She wiggled the puppets on her hands as if to explain everything. One was herself. First puppet, three was the second puppet. I'm scared Alice might be blind. Her mad smile became a mad grin once more. That's the side effect of being Alice. Don't worry, it's just a side effect of being Alice. She sneered. Pitch in her voice warped. It doesn't matter their comments. Don't mind their comments. She's a dormouse. He's a March hare. She paused as if waiting for me to greet the animal puppets. I waited. She waited. Her smile did not falter. In fact, it only widened. The patient. The silence of the conversation bored me. So I relented to the Mad Hatter's wordless request. I was their guest for tomorrow, so a polite guest I decided to be. Oh, hello. Her smile became ordinary again. I was scared she was deaf as well. Hello there, Alice. Whenever she made her puppets talk, she often took on more of a neutral expression and kept her mouth closed like a ventriloquist. Between the puppets, I much preferred the dormouse. If a puppet could fall asleep, she looked like she was about to do so. I felt some pity as that meant the March hare would speak more. What were we talking about before? A riddle? Maybe it was this one. Why is a raven like a writing desk? The answer to that riddle? You're no fun, Alice. Relax and have some wine. No wine. You were invited for tea tomorrow, Alice. It's the obligation of the host to offer the guest a tea. An alcoholic. Matter, I can't imagine in good faith call this time of day tea time. Or alcohol tea. Or could I call alcohol tea? Details. Add some butter. It'll be tea time eventually, so it's tea time now. We're having tea. It might as well be tea time, don't you think? What did you come here for anyways? Although I couldn't quite say that I had come here for this tea party with a goal in mind, I figured I might as well tell her. I'm searching for the Red Queen. Brows contorted as she took a sip of her tea. Puppet sat down for just this moment. Putting the tea away and rinsing the cup, she poured herself another drink. Her mismatched eyes narrowed. Oh, her. The Hatter placed her lips to the rim of her teacup and stared at me. Minutes passed, all 60 seconds consisting of staring before she ducked down under the table, as if to find an item and popped back up again. Oh, please tell me she doesn't have a body part. Her expression was back to the usual state. Stay and chat for a moment. I'll help you with a little something regarding Her Majesty. Hatter poured me a cup of tea and slid over a plate of sandwiches. Hatter's smile became wide. The plate hurled towards me, forcing me to hurriedly grab it, lest sandwiches spill all over my lap. Luckily, the cup of tea arrived much more calmly. I took a taste, finding Earl Grey. Is it tomorrow already? At the very least, it wasn't time for afternoon tea. If I'd known I would have had tea now, I would have stayed a little longer and have some with the White Queen as well. But it was not that people couldn't have tea outside of afternoon tea, but it was the principle of things. If people drank tea any time of day, they would drink it all day. I sipped some more, enjoying the citrusy flavor of the black tea. Today is tomorrow for yesterday, don't you think? Unless she doesn't think. That would have been rude for you to ask. He's just normal. Orthanol? Certainly sitting up quite straight. But regarding the Red Queen, you have some news about her? I'd say I have some business with her instead. Something to do with flesh and all the other red things that the Red Queen might have to do with. Aren't you a hatter? She grinned wildly. Yes. Not a butcher. Unless your meat is made out of a hat. While talking about all things unappetizing, I took a bite of sandwich filled with the ambiguous color. Milky sweetness melted onto my mouth. I tasted some sort of fruit inside. Mango or strawberry. Satisfied with the pleasant sweetness, I took another sip of tea. And these sandwiches are delicious. Thank you, Alice. You made them? Compliments to you, then. Hatter grinned. Oh, such flattery. Since you've put me in a good mood, I guess we can go along with Her Majesty's matter. Held as if laughing. In fact, she's been sitting here with us the whole time. Sat up even straighter in confusion. Glancing around, saw no sight. Not a human or animal besides the two of us here. Oh my gosh. I rolled a chair over and pulled a cloth off from over the chair's holdings. This might be gore. Ta-da! Nausea ran up my spine. On the chair sat a chunk of meat up in tattered human clothes. Still dripping red, the flesh seemed to ripple. Is it rotting or still alive? My head spun as I squinted at the thing. This meat. Oh, the thing resembled a human torso, with half a neck and chopped off limbs, dolled up with what could have been clothes. This was surely human flesh. I sensed odd familiarity, torso, but also felt as if I was looking at it from the correct angle. This is the torso of a regal woman. Raw human flesh. This is the... Hatter's eyes narrowed again, brow furrowed, still smiling. An inappropriate question flitted across my mind. Would we consider it as sitting? Have legs? Suppose yes. I thought you said you weren't a butcher, Hatter. Definitely consider that a hat. Just having eaten, this pink strawberry taste in my mouth turned to a meat like raw pork. It almost tastes cotton fat. I swallowed. Her expression returned to normal. I wonder if the Hatter wanted to make me sick. Hatter gave a wide smile. Yes, I'm a Hatter. I closed my eyes and rubbed the bridge of my nose. distracted by the surprise. Fingers all wet, round, sure that my dick was still attached to my palm. Image lingered uncomfortably behind my eyelids. Disgust, but with another inexplicable emotion. Negative one for sure. Looked at the torso again. So still. I saw exposed bone, tattered trachea. That must not have been wholly clean. Blade sharpened quite enough, yet also dulled. Yes, this is the Red Queen. Why not? I knew, but a voice in the back of my head told me that this was the Red Queen, part of the Red Queen. I'm afraid Her Majesty can't speak right now. Hatter stirred her tea and popped a bite-sized sandwich into her mouth, munching happily. Aaron, look at me like that, Alice. Hatter didn't remember Her Majesty. Now the Hatter is innocent. Since only the Hatter spoke up in her defense, I wasn't particularly inclined to believe her, but whether or not she did kill the Red Queen, end result set before me. What should I do now? I murmured my uncertainty at this dead end aloud. Smiled as if nothing was wrong. What do you mean? All you have to do is find all the other pieces. If you have anything in Her Majesty for, all you need to do is put her back together. Have you forgotten, Atlas? That sounded mad. So mad I wanted to laugh. This is Wonderland, after all. All I need to do is find the pieces. That was right, Mal. That was all you needed to do. It would either be simple or terribly hard. I hope that no one had fed the Red Queen to the pigs or picked her up for some patties. Regardless, all I really needed was the head and the torso if I wanted to talk to her. Ask her about the secrets to returning home. May I take the body with me? Hatter narrowed her eyes. Alice. Alice, you are a civilized girl. Do you lug around a piece of meat like you were a meat seller? Selling to some cannibals? Hatter winked cheekily. No, that wouldn't be fair, don't you? Once you find most of her parts, let's just say a limb, I'll give you a special present to help you out again. She petted a box on the side of the table. The box was just big enough for a cat, or a cape, maybe something like a hat. Of course, don't peek or try to find out what the present is. It wouldn't be a surprise like that. I'll be very, very upset if you cheat. With that smile on her face, I couldn't see her upset. Muddled sincerity came twice. Hatter's mismatched eyes wandered. Strange, though. Now then, I've got to grab something off the stove before it burns. Hatter got up from her seat and walked away. Here I was alone, the Red Queen's flesh. I was missing all 4 limbs and a head, so to make her whole, I would need to find 5 parts. I hoped that my search would be easy. Seeing the Hatter was nowhere in sight, I contemplated the decision regarding the curiosity of the box on the table. We're gonna listen to the Hatter. I shook my head. Instead of antagonizing the Hatter, I decided to take another sip of tea. I would see what was in that box eventually. The Hatter returned soon enough. Her puppets were absent, rather. In her hand was a hammer, glowing bright with heat. She chucked it to the side with a thump and a metal sizzle on the ground. What was the hammer for? She grinned. Need a reason to be? Anyways, go ahead and try to find some of the Red Queen's body. An arm, a head, maybe 2. Just bring them back to me to attach them. 3 points or so. It'll still be tea time when you come back. Let's just count you as an extra guest for the next tomorrow as well. Back with time. Oh, I suppose there's not much else to do here. Hatter's expression dampened a bit as I responded. I looked at my empty cup of Earl Grey and lifted myself up from the armchair. What it was worth, I quite enjoyed the odd hour tea. Shaking my legs just to make sure they hadn't fallen asleep, I started to leave. Until later. but I don't speak German at all. Auf Wiedersehen. No, it's Auf Wiedersehen. Oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. Again, I don't speak German, and my brain was trying to remember what you normally say for when you're saying goodbye in German, and I'm like, brain on Auf Wiedersehen. I remembered in time before. Taking a quick bite away from. Alright, back at it. I had my bite. She leaned back into her chair and made a wave my way. Somehow she looked lonely. I turned to another forest path, walking forward and forward. After moving for a while, I realized that I didn't know where I was going. In simpler words, I walked around in a few circles before looking upward. So fucking cute. Above, I saw a cat. A cat who resembled a girl, or a girl who resembled a cat, actually stood on the tall branch of a tree. Sharp green-yellow eyes, skin in a cat-like smile. Brown hair was tied into a tail with a ribbon. Cat ears on top of her head, quite fluffy. She wore an orange, 3 black stripes and a fluffy white collar, a tattered short black dress adorned around her collar with a bell. Her one visible arm was shackled around the wrist of her clawed hand. There appeared something like stitches at that point, where her arm and shoulder connected. Unlike the white rabbit, this Cheshire cat, I can't but wonder if she was actually neither a cat nor a girl. I was pretending to be either, and was just pretending to be either. I met her cat eyes and silent greeting. Her grin stretched across her face as she stared right back. Sharp teeth filled her mouth and clawed her hands. This was probably a cat. Cheshire. I love her. The flame that was pale flickered. She hopped down closer. I don't suppose you'll tell me which way I should go? Her eyes narrowed in amusement. I posed a silly question that I expected no answer for. After all, I was asking a cat for direction. On where you want to go? I received an answer. I may change that voice, we'll see. Find the Red Queen. Ah, the crazy one. Sure you'd prefer to not go with the one I'm searching for is the Red Queen. Alright, the Mad Queen. Then again, we're all mad around here. That is except for Her Majesty, the White Queen. She's too sad to be mad. If you're looking for the Red Queen, up, down, left, right, left might help. I don't trust you. Up, down, left, right, left. That's like the normal cheat code. Cat jeered. Less self-awareness. Cheshire Cat vanished into thin air. Reappeared. Go to the White Queen instead. Something on the way. Up, down, left, right. Started to fade away again before popping back. I forgot to ask, how's the Hatter doing? Fine, it's still tea time over there. Always that one. Third time she disappeared, leaving a grin lingering in the air. Before that too vanished. There was a grin without a cat instead of a cat without a grin. Third time was a charm. The cat did not return. Can't say I've seen a cat quite like that before. Then again, Cheshire wasn't really a cat. We're gonna do the up, up, down, down, left, right. Tried to remember just what the Cheshire Cat had said, speaking the pattern of directions aloud to a beat. Up, down, down, left, right. Feel like I missed a few items, but that was all the cat had given. Backtracked to the where I met the cat and followed the recommended direction. Enough, I found myself at a crossroads. Saw no limbs nor head in sight. Left was labeled right, right was labeled left. The wrongly written signboards, I chose at random where to go next. Every few meters, I found a new signboard with its marked arrows. Whether or not they led to the right place was another issue. It slowed my pace to read the signs and follow them along. Today is a rainy day. I don't know which genius thought to put a forecast on a wooden sign on the side of the road, but I followed the direction to go right regardless. The sky had not a drop of rain. Warning, cliff ahead. As it happened, there was a cliff ahead. Watch out for dragons. I looked for the dragons did not arrive. At some point, the text on the insults. Fool. You don't even know who you are. Stop following these signs. Any of these will you read? Walked and walked and walked. At the end of the final sign on the I reached a clearing in the forest where I spotted the white rabbit talking to a limb. She appeared a little frightened, or perhaps more concerned. Majesty? Your Majesty's left arm, please. I blinked. I blinked again. My eyes saw the same image. The white rabbit seemed to about prostrate herself. Seemed just about to prostrate herself to a living, moving arm. Arm, despite being an arm, had taken the higher position. Here's dirt. Crawl here. Will I take you back to the palace? Would you prefer to go to the garden or the courtroom? I happen to know where Her Majesty is. Arm smacked the white rabbit. She frowned, brows furrowed. Although I silently observed, the arm noticed me and began to crawl over. The grass at a snake, like a worm, a piece of flesh and bone that had been able to move. Withering struggle sent a shiver up my spine. White rabbit looked scared. I don't know if I should pick it up or kick it away. I did neither, and it reached my feet. The arm proceeded to climb up my leg, up my cloak, some sort of parasite, making it slow up until it pushed past my building disgust to hold it in my hand instead. Flesh felt cold in my palm, sensed no heartbeat in my wrist. These arms have taken a liking. Find Her Majesty, please return the limb to her. Tell her that her rabbit did her best. I pray she hasn't met any trouble. Off isn't an everyday occurrence. Made quite the understatement. Yes, of course. How did you know this was the Red Queen's arm? The rabbit looked happy, excited expression. Recognize Her Majesty's. You admire her very much? Of course, I respect Her Majesty very much. She united Wonderland, the kingdom, and kept a watchful gaze on the criminal populace. She's a decisive ruler and holds an agreeable worldview. This should be her divine right to rule the land. I heard a cat call her mad. Expression flashed through the white rabbit's eyes for barely a second. Her smile quickly became a frown. Cat is no problem element. Her expression became stressed. Her Majesty is mad. Madness. essence of brilliance. Although I may not always be fated to be a favored courtier, I am to Her Majesty my greatest honor. I cannot be White Rabbit without Her Majesty. Smile returned. That should be how. I gave the rabbit's impromptu speech a short round of applause, balancing my attached arm in the crook of my elbow. Rabbit became flustered. She must also like you very much. All rules that had their dissidents, orders. A certain man once said that a ruler was better feared than loved, if not be both. Despite all of that, the White Rabbit said, I knew little more than the Red Queen. Red Queen is the ruler of all of this land. What's your job, White Rabbit? Yes, Her Highness. She is the highest ruler of the Wonderland. I deal with a little bit of everything. Administrative matters, legal matters, the personal matters of important people. Ah, since we've met a few times, I could say that I'm important, couldn't I? That's right, Alice. My tepid jest, I received a response that made me pause. White Rabbit got a watch and jumped in surprise. Upon at this time, quickly returned the watch to her pocket. Ready? Afraid I must be off again. Will be at all. Thank you, Alice. Hurriedly bowing a few times, she dashed off back to work. Having obtained one limb, I went searching for another. Before I knew it, the day had passed. I looked towards the sky where the sun had begun to set. Letting out a yawn, I realized I needed a for the night. I thought back to the parties who had helped me on the adventure to gather the Queen's dismembered parts. Really, I could find one of them. One spot. Back to the Hatter's place. Taking a bite. Alright, we're back. Moonlight filtered. The teas and cakes were all put away. As before, I found her at a table full of tea. She nursed a cup of tea and waved at me upon spotting me. Just in time for tea, Alice. From the sky, tea time seemed to have already passed. Perhaps it was more like supper time, so I only flashed her a smile without saying anything. I've returned the limb. Congratulations! I handed her the Red Queen's limb, entering the Hatter's hand. Holding it away from herself, the Hatter seemed to think of what to do with it next. She picked a dog cage from under the chair. Flicking the metal hatch open, she tossed the limb into it, quickly flipped the cage shut again. The Hatter sit down. I'd be a poor host if I didn't let you sit. Hopped down into the armchair. This was my chair now. Glanced around and found I didn't have the puppets that Hatter wore on her hand that day. Her friends. With me. Oh, they've gone home for a bit. Our chair lives all the way over in a house of ears. As for those whose ears they are, haven't a clue. Hungry for rodent, Alice? No. If you say so, Alice. She poured me a cup of tea and slid the tea cup and saucer over to me, nearly spilling it over my lap. Soon after came another plate. On the plate was steak and vegetables. For a brief Hatter appeared lonely. I should hope this is rodent, is it? Rodent, is it? The grin? That's something else. Hatter didn't continue, but glanced over at the Red Queen's flesh. My eyes followed the path of her gaze, not spotting any steak-sized slabs of meat from her, or from the torso of the queen I sought, I let out a sigh. Her eyes were narrowed. With a knife and fork, I cut the steak in my mouth. Tasted like beef. Thanks to the chef. Smiled, I think. Together, Hatter, her table manners, the fork and knives were impeccable. But each time I thought to compliment them, she said something odd again. The Hatter was unraveled. I don't have a place to stay for the night. I wanted to ask if you'd be up for. I put up with you all the time. What difference does night make? Where I come from, people sleep at night. You can sleep underneath the table, or spread a blanket on the ground, or just sleep in the armchair you're sitting in now. Isn't what you pretend to be like dead like everybody else? Is that why you don't sleep? The Hatter has had terrible bags under her eyes. As I doubted she slept too, could only have been sleeping little. Frowned upset. Look at the time. Is it really time to sleep? Sleeping at tea time will destroy your inner clock, you know. Morning, afternoon, evening. All tea time. It's better not to sleep. Thought you didn't care about the time. Hatter sneered. Time doesn't care about me. Are you perhaps afraid of sleeping? Gave me a smile. What do you think, Alice? She poured herself a drink from a bottle into her cup. I turned to look at the bottle, which was in no way for tea. Couldn't read the jumbled words scrawled across the label, but couldn't help but ask. Is that actually alcohol? Tea. Isn't it alcohol? Tea. She drank her tea and did mine. Conversation turned silent. Shouldn't have pushed and upset my dear host. I wanted to pet her head and apologize, but for she could drink or sleep as she wanted. I reached out and the Hatter recoiled. A frown on her face. She pushed her chair back from the table, taking the chance to move away. Then she dipped underneath the tablecloth, rummaging around her stuff with a rustling noise. And she popped back up, held a blanket, and tossed it my way. Her expression turned distraught, her frown wobbly. Want to pretend to be dead right now? Go play dead. Catching it in my arms, I smelled a sweet scent from the soft blanket. The sky was dark. I started to feel sleepy, hugging the blanket a little tighter. I did experience a after all, but perhaps it was time to go to bed. Good night, Hatter. I wonder if she was mad, or if she would. But she did. Good night, Alice. I leaned back comfortably in the armchair and began to thinking. Contrary to my earlier expectation, I didn't keep thinking forever. The moment I looked up at the sky, I found I couldn't fall asleep and didn't recognize the stars. Constellations adorned the dark heavens, tracing their infinite sparkles. I wondered who they stood for. I wanted to understand what was hidden past those mismatched eyes of the Hatter. While counting the stars, I eventually fell asleep. Falling. Next day and the day after, I continued my search for the White Queen's parts. Once again, I was walking down the forest path, remembering that the Cheshire Cat mentioned the White Queen. I decided to give the Queen a second visit. I thought that I could easily replicate the route to her garden. Been there. However, the more I walked, was that I was lost. I passed that tree to the right a handful of times already. I was going in circles, getting nowhere closer but beautiful gardens and equally pretty. I let out a sigh and chose to brush at random to walk through instead of following the path. My cloak saved me from being scratched by the leaves and branches of the bush, but I came out to the other side to a fairly tall tree in a large bird cage. Why are you in a cage? I spotted the White Queen inside the bird cage. There was a leg. She sat with a distressed expression and looked up at my figure. Hello? We meet again, Alice. I hadn't expected that I would be trapped here again. a little embarrassed that you're seeing me. I contemplated just asking for the leg and leaving. Well, that would be a terribly foul thing to do to a pretty person like her. Although, in a way, it almost seemed like a good idea to leave the bird locked up in a cage all for her oneself. After all, how would you catch her if you were to let her free? The Red Queen's right leg? It would appear so. Find the Red Queen must find her parts as well. Even so, she should be able to help you find your way back home. Sorry, Alice. Don't apologize. The key to my prison is atop the towering tree. Help me open this cage. Of course. Agreeing to the request, I walked over to the tall tree that the White Queen gestured towards. Tall was it? I couldn't say. If I angled my head and squinted, I could see the glimmer of the silver key on the high branch above. Circled the tree, front and back, sides, left and right. They all looked equally hard to climb. I pondered on how to scale the tree. A little bird approached. It was fat and pink with big eyes and a black beak. Chirp, chirp. All of the talking animals, and not quite animals in one. I have an inkling that this one might speak as well. Perhaps it spoke French like a French bird. Sure? Bonjour! Fortunately, I knew little French. My practice had grown rusty, so much that the others would be ashamed. But I tried to pull at least one more phrase. Doué machette? Herb? Must have said the wrong words as the poor bird began to tremble. Anglais? Yes, yes, chirp, chirp. Cats? No cats, please. What are you doing? What are you doing, chirp, chirp? Trying to get the key up there. What are you doing, little bird? Chirp. Just having lots of fun every day. Not doing anything in particular. Not doing anything in particular. Now that the Red Queen, Her Majesty, is missing, Wonderland is so much more wonderful. We can play and frolic as we want. Chirp, chirp. Auntie Bird got in trouble for breaking Her Majesty's law, and now there's no more Auntie Birdie. Chirp, chirp. I was so sad. So sad. Her Majesty was so scary. So scary. I wouldn't tell on me, right? Chirp. Chirp, chirp. You look like a nice person. Chirp. Much nicer than her. Much nicer than her. Oh, I see. I'll help you with the key. Chirp. Puffing out its little chest, the bird flapped its wings and took off towards the sky. Flew and flew. Soon enough became tired. Not reaching the key on the tree, the bird flattered and fluttered back down. Dropped its head in disappointment. Sorry, couldn't do it. Chirp. Oh! No, we're gonna pet the bird. Don't worry about it. I rubbed the little bird's head, causing it to peek up at me with large round eyes glittering with surprise. Bird. Oh my. Bite. After the failed first attempt at the key, I returned to the White Queen's side. It looked fitting in the cage, pretty, like a flower preserved forever in glass. Then I thought that she was beautiful. Really, she was beautiful. True, Alice. I couldn't let her stay trapped. Red Queen's leg. Wasn't able to find a way up. Do you have any ideas for what I should do, White Queen? Over there are some mushrooms. If you eat those to the left, you will grow. If you eat the ones to the right, you will shrink. They will be helpful. Magic mushrooms? I was hesitant to eat the mushrooms, unknown, but I felt that I could trust the White Queen. Why I didn't know? Well, this is Wonderland, isn't it? I'd forgotten something important. The feeling of forgetting tingled in the back of my mind when I saw the White Queen. Shit. Finding the mushroom she pointed out, I faced a choice. A little yellow with black spots or the large purple. I think we want to grow. I ate the left mushroom and immediately began to grow. The line of my sight rose higher and higher as if I were a bean sprout. Once I stopped growing, I could reach the top of the towering tree if I reached out my arm. Fantastically, my clothes grew with me. I cautiously picked the silver key and removed it, holding it lightly as to not break it in my now giant hands. The key I now had, but the cage I could not open. I was much too big. Magic will wear off. In the meantime, would you accompany me for a chat, Alice? For the best. I would have to wait until I reverted back to my original size to open the door. Is the invitation for tea sometimes still open? Yes, always. I shall ask about this, Then I shall ask about what sort of use you like to drink to see what I might expect. What is your favorite tea? White tea. Do you prefer black tea still? Did you know? We chatted for a while about tea, and at some point the conversation turned to flowers. Perhaps if it was that she felt, perhaps it was that she felt ambivalent on floral tea. You're welcome to visit my garden anytime. Couldn't find the way to the garden today. Perhaps getting lost had been the better, and I found her in the end. Yes, that happens. I'm not there, but Wonderland shall lead you my way if you think of me. At least for you, Alice. I've nowhere to be out but the gardens. She paused, looking at something in the distance that I could not see. Would you believe me if I told you I can see the future? My eyes and a calm clarity. I didn't feel that she would lie, yet I couldn't quite believe her words either. I wonder if I had forgotten what I was doing. What I was doubting. Rather than answer, I decided to play along. The future. Fast. Otherwise, is lonesome? I don't believe that the future is just predestined, but the solitude of such power would also be the fate of the Queen's world. Her words sounded contradictory. The Red Queen? Especially for the Red Queen. White Queen spoke of fate as if it's still trapped by something more than just a birdcage. I couldn't understand. I walked a little longer. I felt a tingle up my arm and began to revert to my usual size. The world warped and finally popped back into its proper place. I twirled around to check that all is well. Identifying no issue, I picked up the key, dropped it to the ground at some point. I picked up the key that I had dropped at some point on the ground, and inserted it into the lock of the White Queen's birdcage. The smooth click, the cage unlocked, opened the door. White Queen stumbled out of her birdcage, her legs still wobbly from sitting in the cage for so long. She let me hold it steady until she regained balance. Thank you. Welcome. I ought to return to the garden now, but my invitation is always open, Alice. I'll see you later if you're willing. She handed me the Red Queen's leg. It was dressed in black tights and a shoe red and tied at the ankle with ribbon. Freed from the bird cage, the White Queen departed to her garden. After wandering around some more, I went to the Hatter's place with a second link. The day had come to the end. The Hatter's clock remained at tea time. Arguing with her own hand puppets at some sort of song, some rendition of Twinkle Twinkle. The hair on her hand had flung back and forth. I waited it out to see it. Started laughing by herself halfway through. Apparently she couldn't sing. Her expression was a bit low. Her shoulders stopped shaking. The Hatter turned to me. Gave me an awkward smile. Alice, you voyeur. I see you brought the second one. That one is one. That one is two. Good work. Hatter clapped her wrists half a dozen times. Alice, why don't you join us for tea again today? Hatter made some scones. It has butter. Thank you for the invitation, Dormouse. Another lonely but happy expression briefly flashed the Hatter's face. Upon my response to the Dormouse, she immediately brightened up. If it would make the Hatter happy, I don't see why not just play along. Like, setting aside her puppet friends, she extended her open palm towards me. Proceeded to, commit lèse-majesté, by tossing the limb over to the Hatter's tea table to her. I took a seat in the armchair, seeing her clumsily catch it in her arms. At my seat there was already a cup of tea prepared. With her free hand, the Hatter opened the dog cage, free of the other limb. Help with that? I have everything under control. Without another pause, the Hatter stuck the limbs onto the torso. Flesh sounded like a squelch. Muscles, skin, and bone began to fit into place. Still a red line remained disconnected. Cheshire cat. I took a bite of the scones. As the Hatter said, it had butter. Red Queen's incomplete body twitched. Something squirmed under the skin. I spread some clotted cream onto the scone. Perfect blend of sweetness made me where she got the jam. Very red. Ow! Hatter became disgruntled, frowning. A single arm grabbed at Hatter, smacking at it, squirming. As it squirmed, Hatter kicked the Red Queen, rendering the limb humps of meat paralyzed with shock, as Hatter forced its limbs off. A bit of blood and something onto the ground. Gripping the withering limb in her hand, the Hatter popped open the dog cage and chucked them in. With a thud into the cage, the arm and leg went. Good scones. Thank you. You mentioned you also had some business with the Red Queen, Hatter. What was it? Something to do with red? Something to do with flesh? Guess that I didn't quite know. He gave a wide smile. Personal matters, Alice. I'd prefer you didn't pry. I was the one gathering the pieces, so of course I wanted to know. Then again, the Hatter could just as well put the corpse together herself. Better question how she obtained that first chunk, but I doubt she would answer. I was curious. After all, not every Hatter keeps the Red Queen's dismembered body at their table, much less treats it like you do. White Rabbit is searching for the Red Queen right now, you see, and the Red Queen here, at least part of her was. Nobody likes the White Rabbit. Why didn't you tell her, Alice? I didn't feel like it. White Rabbit was boring. I had a feeling that telling her anything about the corpse sitting with us wouldn't help much. You saved me from the dungeon. This dark, dank place, a hat's not enough for the cold. Dungeons aren't here for keeping, but killing. Well, let's commit lèse-majesté together. Surely the Queen will forgive us for piecing her together. Lèse-majesté. I much prefer this, Mad Hatter. Oh, no, Alice. This is much closer to blasphemy. We have no choice but to beg the wrathful gods for forgiveness, don't you know? Couldn't help but think of Osiris, judge of the dead, cut to pieces by his own brother. Even a god king, or rather a god queen, would be chopped up and rendered helpless. Tutors would be proud of me for remembering. Huh. Is that so? Well, be good to work with you, Hatter. I offered to take a hand to shake. Seeing her hesitation, I expected her to reject my outstretched hand, but she instead grabbed my finger, expression filled with uncertainty. I thought that she tried to pull my fingers off, however, she only gripped me weakly, shook it up and down before letting go once more. A bit gloomier this time around. Well, and another day ended. What did I dream of? I must have forgotten. More limbs and a head remain. I feel like the head is in that box. I feel like it. I continued on my adventure to collect the Red Queen, but I could finally meet her and find a way back home. Step, step, step. I walk around this upside-down world. Between my exploration of Wonderland, I chatted with the Hatter. Certain inquiry. What do you want to go back to at home? What indeed? Alice, Alice, what was waiting for you at home? I counted off my fingers. Sisters? Cats? A large empty home, books? A tutor. With my sisters Laurie and Eddie, I was not particularly close. The older, Lorraine, and the younger Edith. Yeah, intelligent Lorraine, and precious Edith seemed to live in their own world apart from Alice. I preferred the cats, a white cat and a black cat. The former was cute, a little beauty like the White Queen, later a little devil. As for the books, our library seemed endless. We had so many books that I could drown. Maybe a pile had collapsed on me and I was dying, suffocating on the pages so terribly that I fell into Wonderland. Teachers would be so mad that the books were ruined. I winced at the phantom stinging at the back of my legs. Poor ruler. I could already see it go red. That was my world. A boring, normal, plain world where animals didn't talk and corpses didn't move. Where I hadn't needed to think much at all. I was Alice. And that place was Alice's place. Fiddled with my fingers, grasping for the correct expression to wear. A smile is always safe. I'll be off then. Step, step, step. I traversed about this place, which was not Alice's, my place. Once again, I was in the forest in the daytime. I was walking around searching for clues where the next limb or even head could be when I heard the sound of a conversation. I followed the noise and found the oddest pair, a rabbit and a cat. The rabbit seemed upset, but on the contrary, the cat was grinning deliciously. Ask the Hatter. Rabbit made an smile. Blah. Mad Hatter, more cuckoo than a bird. Still nuanced. Silver lining is now that the rat and the hare are out of the way, she's become a little bit more of a recluse. Ears are still ringing from the time we had told the peasants. Oh, ears are still peasants off the street waiting for royal guests. She sneered. Courts have stopped working, falling into anarchy. That filth on the ground left and right. Up and down, too. Rabbit seemed angry. Shut up, you damn cat. Fucking criminal pretending to be a cat. If it weren't so busy, I'd send the cards to chain you up and throw you back into the dungeons. Cat grinned at Rabbit. Scary threats from a rabbit. Listen up. Your name is still at the top of the list for execution, cat. Don't think you can do whatever you want. Huh. Even now I've got a Alice! White Rabbit made a puking sound. The blood drained from her face when it met my eyes. She looked terrified. Hello. Did I interrupt the conversation? No, not at all. Hello, Alice. Hope we weren't too loud. The cat and I were just... I'll talk. How have you been? Well enough, and you? Well enough as well. Well, what about me? Aren't you well? It depends. I'm a cat. Cat's punchline met silence. Are you two friends? The rabbit frowned. Cat grinned. Yes. Our circles rarely overlap. We only have to meet and talk today by coincidence. Cat made a mocking frown. Oh, I'm hurt, Bunny. I thought we were friends. Cheshire Cat, please refrain from giving me unsolicited nickname. Cat smiled. Bunny, you two seem to be getting along. No, not really. They didn't get along at all. Just like how the white rabbit thought that she could lie straight to my face about what they were talking about before. Lie. That was what the Queen courtiers ought to do. Hilarious. After a short three-way chat, the White Rabbit pulled me to the side for a private conversation. I have an invitation for you, Alice. White Rabbit reached into her coat, retrieving an envelope from the pocket. She held it out to me. Duchess has invited you to her endless party. Your interest is and will always be held at her. Took the outstretched invitation. When is it? Gave me a smile. On and on indefinitely. Ever since her majesty was missing, the Duchess is pulled up in her manor, holding a grand ball day and night. If I didn't know better, I would think celebrating. Rabbit frowned as she looked into the distance. She wouldn't. I see. Thank you for the invitation. Tracing the oddly familiar wax seal upon the envelope, fiddled with the invitation in hand. I wonder where I'd seen it before. Rabbit smiled. Serve, Alice. What a relief. The burden is lifted off my shoulders now that the invitation is delivered. And if it pleases you to attend, enjoy your time. The Duchess certainly knows how to throw parties, and the ability of how to party. Tuck the invitation away. The rabbit smiles, a distant look in her eyes. Is there anything else? Her attention returns to me. Not at all. I won't bother you any further. Excuse me, Alice. Have a nice day. Bowing her head a few times, she made her way away and out of sight. And off she goes. Yeah, the Cheshire Cat. I'm pretty
pink and purple.
No, I'm pretty sure the Mad Hatter is pink. It's very pretty. I'm pretty sure this scar here means that she's had her arm ripped off before.
It's on sale for like. I don't know what to do with it now. I've been reading it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it goes. Taking it white. Cat's eyes narrowed with a grin. You were talking about something too, that White Rabbit. She only cares about the Mad Queen. Devious. Got a little secret about the Red Queen. Just a bit of gossip. Do you want to hear? Certainly. I was in a bit of a stump trying to find the rest of the Red Queen. First two pieces along quite easily, as if delivered on a silver platter. I had to find some more clues. I waited for the cat to speak again, glancing at her flickering tail. She gestured to me to come closer. When I moved in, she flicked me sharply on the forehead, causing me to recoil in surprise and stumble back. I said I would. Try finding me later, Alice. Before I could respond to her provocation, she disappeared into thin air, leaving a grin floating before me for a short moment more. That is, if you can. With a flicker, the grin too vanished. What did the rabbit call her again, Alice? Ran my fingers through my bangs and sighed. Looking around, I was alone on my search again. We'll go check out the party. I took out the invitation that the White Rabbit had given me. Running my finger against the paper of the envelope and the imprint on the wax seal, some sort of an ant before the invitation opened. Inside, I found a card and read it to myself. Alice, the Duchess requested the honor of your presence at her ball. Today, tomorrow, time eternal. The Duchess estate the manor. You are required to bring a companion. I flipped the card over and I noticed something of a crude drawn map. I followed the lines on the map and somehow pinpointed where I was in relation to the manor. I held nothing to bring to the party, nor did I have a readily available guest. I pondered about whether I should go or not, seeing as if I could put it off indefinitely. But with Red Queen's part still missing, perhaps somebody would know. A duchess should have been close to the queen, for example. At least, the tutors had mentioned. As for my +1, my mind wandered to the few human faces in Wonderland. We're fucking going with the Hatter. I'm a menace. And even though the Hatter's crazy, I like the Hatter. Taking another bite. Returned to the Hatter, who was having her tea time. Invited her. She's probably not going to go because she's Hatter. Won't you accompany me to the ball? I rather won't. She glared at me with a displeased smile. Alice requested that way. I'll trade you a favor for a favor for a favor. If you'll come to the ball with me, I can do something for you. Listen, Alice has no friends. No friends, no pets, no siblings, no one, none. Favors have flavors like butter? I would say I have at least one of the above. What sort of favor would you offer me, Alice? A limb, a tongue, a heart? Alice, you don't have anything that I want that I can't get myself. She momentarily grinned ordinarily. A cuppa for your sandwich, Alice. Here's the salt. I passed her the pepper as she slid the salt in a cup of tea over to me. Fiddling with the salt container, I tasted a spoonful of humiliation atop my tongue. Friends. She says friends. The Hatter pouted. You have no friends? What am I? March's favorite old butter sticks? Her glare bore into me. Would. If you would. I would rather not. Hatter does not matter around the noble. Like flattery. I'm no good with nobles, after all. I'm just a Hatter. For a second, her voice dipped. Her expression became somber. Hatter is better off here, all alone. I barely hear the Hatter's low words. Sneered again. And it's still tea time. How could we go off to the ball when we've yet to finish afternoon tea? When? All I suddenly hear is just, and I'm like, why are you guys kissing each other? Why you guys gotta be menaces? Yeah, you two. Not of you. there and think about what you've done with. He's like, I'm gonna sit on my lap. He stirred her tea, watching as I slumped onto my seat and played with the salt. Then the Hatter gave me a lonely look. But I rather appreciate you. Heart skipped. Why, Alice? Why did you find that slight smile somewhat charming? Click! Sound of my teaspoon hitting against the rim of my cup broke me out of my thoughts. I looked down. Putting the cup of tea and cup to my mouth, I took a sip and found that I had put salt into my tea. Terrible. She smiled. I'll accompany you, Alice. When's this ball? Anytime. The Hatter sneered. Not very nice of you to say it not tea time here, then. Not very good of you to be biased against tea time, don't you know? Finished off our tea, sandwiches. After a few more sips, I sneakily dumped the salted tea behind my armchair. The Hatter put the dormouse and the March hare away. After lingering at the tea table for a few moments, we got up to leave. She waved goodbye to the puppets, hesitated as if scared of leaving this place, and we used the shoddy map on the back of the invitation card to find our way to the Duchess's palace. That place is fucking huge. After we walked, we arrived at the manor. It resembled a large white castle towering against the dark skies and pointed roof. The Hatter shook her legs as if just a little bit of walk had tired her out. Then, again, the bags under her eyes conveyed that she hadn't slept well for a while. The guard stopped us at the entrance. Halt! Show us your invitation card. Handed the guard a card. He looked it over, glanced at me and the Hatter before returning. The guard gestured and led us inward a few steps through the entranceway. To enter, guests must provide an arm. An arm will be returned to you whenever you wish to leave the party. An arm? A limb? The guard nodded. Please provide an arm. Here, oh my gosh. Uncharacteristically, the Hatter said nothing the entire time. The guard, he warily looked at his sheathed sword and shuffled behind me. May not enter without providing an arm. We're gonna offer the Red Queen's arm. Fuck it. I crossed my arms and tapped my feet on the as the guard repeated his blocking words a handful of times more. While the thought of offering my own limb came up, I decided against it. As such, we need to find another arm to give. Well, I'm loathing to say this. We do have a spare arm back at the tea table. Her Majesty surely wouldn't mind, don't you think? Yes, indeed. We had no tongue to speak otherwise. With that, we made our trip back to the Hatter's place. The Hatter hopped over to the dog cage that was set for the Red Queen. Popping it open, she pulled out a severed arm and quickly slammed the door shut. The limb flailed in the Hatter's hand till she unceremoniously tossed it at me. The Red Queen's arm. Yes, this arm donned a torn, stained, regal red sleeve with black ruffles. Now I wonder if we'll actually get it back at the end. Hatter sneered. Never quite thought that I would accompany Her Majesty to a ball. Gives me the shivers. To me, it felt a little obvious that it was the Red Queen's arm. I wonder if somebody will recognize the arm. I'd certainly be in a good deal of trouble. I would prefer not to have a trouble in getting the arm back if somebody tries to take it away. They won't with Wonderland. They wouldn't want to recognize it anyhow. I've been here for a while, and still this logic fascinates me. Wonderland. We took a tea break. According to the Hatter, it is still tea time, after all. Hatter gave me a lonely look. Shall we go to the ball, milady? Although I'm afraid I've got no pumpkin carriage nor glass slipper for you. Winked him. You're charming enough as it is. Lead the way, Alice. The arm in hand, we returned to the Duchess's manor. The guard greeted us with the same phrase, asking for an arm at the entrance, which we responded by handing over the arm we had retrieved. Glanced at both of us, noting that neither of us were missing a limb. The guard handed it off to a servant who put it in a sealed box and took it away for safekeeping nonetheless. They enter guests. All pretty. We arrived at the Duchess's ballroom. The floor was wide open and remarkably polished. Golden chandeliers hung above, and the light reflecting against the floor. A few chairs sat between large rounded windows, a cat on the farthest wall. Although the hostess was nowhere to be found, servants milled around the floor with refreshment for guests. A quartet performed in the front. Food sat at the tables, to the sides of the room. All around were faceless people, dressed up like clowns. Faceless people, they were uninterested people. They sent a few glances our way, and we came without much fanfare. Already I didn't like them. Perhaps it was their beak pigeon-like eyes. For all that they were faceless. I saw only clowns and swine. I approached a group, thinking to gain some information. Hello. Hello to you as well. Guest seemed wary upon seeing me, but showed a displeased reaction upon laying eyes on the Hatter, who was reluctantly following along. And the peasant. Which one was it? Ah, the one with vermin. Where is your little raggedy friends? Rat. And the hare. Red Queen's little pet was happy to see them gone. Perhaps it's always been like that. Rather than the rutting, she likes the cutting. Ugh, an animal in such a position. I really do not approve. Her Majesty likes it. Well, she's gone now. Couldn't say that. Speak of the devil and she will come. Devil indeed. Shame that the White Queen has always been a fool. Pretty bird, said, but as a ruler? Red Queen liked her well enough, and certainly from rumors, she's done something quite pleasant. For us, you mean? Thanks, said. The group stage whispered amongst themselves as they pointed to the Hatter like they were looking at a spectacle. The Hatter at the time was simply staring off into space. Glaring at us? This is the problem with peasants. Staring at us. My, how uncomfortable. Can't believe the thing rolls around with the animals. Tut tut, the animals are all gone. That's the least that Her Majesty has done for us in a pretty red rain and pretty red rain. Now let's get away from this filth. The stench of vermin is unbearable. Must ask the Duchess about who can be let into her ballroom. I'd fight them. Just boom, smack, take them out. A servant passed by with a tray of champagne. One of the guests removed two tray and offered me one with a slur in her words. Have some alcohol. Do you have some business with us? No. I shook my head and turned away. Drinks should only be shared in pleasant company. Let's take our leave from these people, Hatter. Chitter chatter, chitter chatter. I noticed the other guests making snide comments on the Hatter and giving her side-eye while stepping back from all people. Saying those things to my person, someone who was mine, my Hatter. They deserved punishment, capital or otherwise. That was right, Alice. What a shame that I had no such power. The Hatter looked rather upset. We moved to the side where the food was, seeing as few people lingered by the refreshment long. Two of us picked up some cakes and snacks. A smile finally came on her face while we ate, a bit a sad one. As I tasted it, I couldn't help but feel that the Hatter made better food. Sensation spread through my body as I ate. Hatter? What is this? My voice changed pitches as I talked. As one moment I sounded squeaky as a mouse, and the next as low as an elephant. Hatter grinned. Playing with the odd refreshments, we found ourselves speaking like animals. Meow. Woof. Meow meow. Woof woof woof. Wonder what she said. She looked so pleased, as if she made the world's greatest joke that had just gone unheard. Tried the pudding. Its comfort filled my heart as if something dirty was coming out of each pulse. Piece of the ventricle, blood through the aorta. The Hatter looked a bit upset. Began to frown. Frowned even deeper. You. I don't know how I deal with the Bedlamite dog like you. Bedlamite dog like you. Had her sneer. Really, really, really. It's red. The red. Red's fault. I'll kill. You're dead. Had her blocked her words and stuffed a cookie in her mouth. Looked rather flustered. Woof. What needs to be done has to be done, but once it's done, we would certainly purge. It's been such a long time. Gotta punish that little bird. Ooh, your head will make a good decoration. There's not a worthy cell inside. Or a lunatic fool. Putting a hand in my mouth and clenching my jaw, I shut up as well till the distortion in my heart disappeared. Had her frowned for a moment. In any of that. Pudding must have twisted our words. Had her smiled. Had it out. As we experienced other guests as a ball, so ball things did. Stopped along chatter. It was at this time that the Duchess made her appearance, featureless behind her face. Instinct told me that she was ugly, yet I could not see anything, not disfigurement or beauty. She existed as the Duchess, but could not be seen. Perceived. Tonight we have a special gift to be given to a singular guest. Gestured, the servant behind her came up with an item held under a red cloth. A hushed whisper ran through the ballroom as everyone guessed at what could be hidden under. It would make the Duchess consider it special. We are holding a chess tournament, a game that ends when the king has fallen, even where the king is gone. Of course, the winner will receive the prize. Yep, knew it. The servant removed the cloth around. Guests let out a collective gasp. What do you may ask? Well, it could only be our dearest Majesty's leg. There was the severed leg of the Red Queen's left leg. From the looks of the limb, it could fit perfectly onto the torso stump sitting at the Hatter's place. Like the previous leg, it too was dressed in a black tightened red shoe and a red ribbon. Best strategist win, the Duchess clapped. Servants began to move out, setting up tables and chess sets. Matter of with the match-up list created, the tournament started. In my moves matter, I thought back to all the chess I had played. They would be relieved that at least I hadn't forgotten anything and everything. Losing each time had been a painful ordeal, so I too was glad that I remembered. Matter had a brilliant mind. I watched as she flung her queen into the crowd of pawns, only for it to be alive. She had a twisted smile on her face, did so most of the time. Our way to the finals, where we met the last opponent not at a table, but in a cleared-out space in the ballroom, with a large chessboard overlay. Hatter was grinning. Last opponent was the Duchess. Around her lined up stood 1 1/3 dozen soldiers dressed up in black like chess pieces. What is this? Why, human chess. Chess is an imitation of bloody war. But war, we must take steps to make life more interesting. That is what our dearest Majesty proclaimed. One of you two have to take the role of a piece, and otherwise I will provide the other piece you wish to play. I exchanged glances with the Hatter. Now I couldn't understand what went on in his eyes, but I had already decided. Maybe I didn't want to see her potentially get hurt if no one had cared for the life of the Hatter. Hi, thank you for the raid, Avi. How are you doing today? See if I typed right. Yes, I did. Beautiful. What did you play today?
See how the volume is.
Muito boa
Give me a
noite,
chance to get
senhoras
the
e senhores. Eu sou
tired.
o Selbit, o diretor.
Yeah, that's Selbit.
You've been streaming since pretty
I
early
like
because
him.
I remember retweeting it like this afternoon. It will randomly pick a clip. Very good. Hello, hello. I picked an appropriate one. Good, I love it. Hello, hello, Trends Gino. Ooh, fun. Fun, fun, fun. Hanging out is super nice. I am just kind of chilling and playing a game that I've been wanting to play for a while. I will give everybody the warning, because this is kind of a, like, it's not like graphic and gore, but there are a lot of like very dark. So I'm going to off a bit of game is called Who is the Red Queen? It is a Steam game that was released last year. But it's Who is the Red Queen? It's a visual novel. It's a lesbian visual novel, right? And triggers for it onto the plot are discretion advised. This visual novel contains death, gore, dismemberment, animal execution, and unaliving from high places. Discretion advised. I just want to make sure people are very well aware of that. Okay. Where you did a colonoscopy? Ew. Yeah, they could probably handle whatever. I still want to let people know, for this one, it seems like it's pretty chill so far. We're just finding limbs, but we are about to go into playing human chess, so we'll see what happens. But it's kind of a you get two choices. But yeah. Oh yeah. I always want to make sure that the triggers are like well known, especially if raids come in, because I posted it on my Twitter, and I've posted it like maybe once going through, because I haven't really had too many people coming in. I've been doing voices, having so much fun. So, but this is the Mad Hatter. She's gorgeous. Everybody are like female characters, except for like random guards and NPCs. But they're so cute. The designs in this are so freaking cute. This is just a free game on Steam. It's so cute. But yeah. Maybe I didn't want to see her potentially get hurt, as no one here cared for the life of a hatter. Oh, oddest otter. What a thought to have. Now, people are assholes to the hatter. And I hate it, because the hatter, look how cute she is. She's the one who I'm going to end up romancing in the end, because it seems like you have two options on who to romance, either the hatter or the White Queen. You may be able to romance the other ones, but I haven't seen anything that leads me to that, because these are the only two people that I can really go and like interact with. But it's very nice. I really like the art style for this for a free game. It came out again in 2022. So yeah, mystery and romance. Basically, the premise is that you are trying to find the dismembered parts of the Red Queen, and you're trying to figure out what happened to the Red Queen, so you can find her, put her back together, and she can help you get back to your realm, back to like the human realm, because you've fallen into Wonderland. And so how we first find out that the queen was dismembered was we go to this Hatter's tea party, the Mad Hatter's tea party, and she has the torso of the body just sitting there in one of the chairs. And she's just like, go and find the pieces of her. And then we proceed to just lock the pieces of her in a dog crate, because they still move around and they try and attack people. It's a very, very interesting, different retelling, and I really like it. But I've been kind of holding off on playing this because I knew it was going to be like a smaller game, and it's got different endings that you can do. It's very wonky, but it's been a lot of fun so far. It's been very fun, and the character designs are nice. I wish honestly, we're gonna quick save. I don't think I've saved yet. Nope. That's always fun. But I'm kind of still figuring out. I don't think I can show you the games, but they're really, really cool. We'll go through them. If you're still chatting and just hanging out, you'll get to see a lot of different character designs. Ryan really likes the Cheshire Cat because it's not just your basic pink and purple that everybody does for Cheshire Cat. It's so much fun. But yes, I rather liked her. I'll take the role of Peace. If it's the Hatter playing, you're gonna sacrifice the Queen. However, I have more control if I'm running around as the Queen. We're gonna be the Queen. I choose to take the Queen. Oh no, you're good. Go have some food. You've been streaming a long time. Go have your food. Go relax. Go chill. It was great seeing you. And again, thank you for the raid. I hope everybody else is gonna have some fun. This is just, I'm doing like visual novels this week solely for the fact that I was like, I want to do some reading. And also, a lot of the visual novels are romance things, so it fits with Valentine's Day. I was trying to be on theme for this week. Just trying a little bit. Especially because I played Spyro all of last week. I choose to take the Queen Pieces role. For the Queen had the greatest power on the board, I donned a fake white crown and even a sword. Yup, the Hatter narrowed her eyes in the same smile. Our white pieces shuffled in and took their positions on the board. Soon enough, the chessboard was set. A human-sized version of the strategy game unfolded. Hatter started with the first move. Plain clash. One by one, the pieces of the board fell, almost like dominoes. Hatter was frowning. Perhaps knight to a... No, a piece of the board cannot speak. We are the players, and you are but a game piece. Finally, the queen came into play. I played with the sword in my hand. Hilt rolled uncomfortably in my palm. Pleasant yet strange, as if I didn't sword much. I didn't, but was still perfectly fine with committing acts of violence with one. Now, swordsmanship was one thing that the tutors hadn't bothered teaching me. After all, it was not fitting for a lady. Blade sounds. They really should have as it turned out, that I was quite good at cutting things down after some short exhibition blows. The Hatter directed me across the board. I attacked as told. What do you call yourself these days again? Alice? Gee. I'm really wondering if this Alice is just like a reincarnation or like something of the Red Queen. Because all of them are kind of like odd with her. And I'm wondering if she's actually like the Red Queen or if she's like to take over the Red Queen's position because she was the one who killed the Red Queen. I don't know anything for sure. Very, very curious. We moved around the board in a perfect match, letting our other pieces back up, and cornered the Duchess's Black King in no time. Hatter grinned devilishly. Checkmate. Checkmate. I wondered if I had killed a king before. Duchess clapped her hands in congratulation. The servant cleared the floor, wiping it down. They made it once more sparkling clean, as if red had not just filled in a human simile of a game. One came along with a wet towel to me to wipe away anything that had gotten on me during the match. Congratulations! You are a true pair of master strategists. With this, the competition is concluded. You two are the winners. Would you like to take your prize now? Hatter shaped her lips into an O. Yes. Hatter bobbed her head up and down rapidly. So this is going to be our third piece that we've gotten, as long as we actually get the arm back that we gave. Duchess gestured the servant over. Our dearest Majesty's leg. Take care of it now, lest she comes back and has you punished for disrespecting the crown. She took the leg from the servant and handed it to me. I hope you enjoy the rest of the ball. Duchess left again, and her servants followed after her. He seemed to have enjoyed the chess tournament. Just as he left, the chess setups were cleared away. The guests returned, eating, drinking, dancing. Let's leave. I had a lonely smile. She had no intention of staying, neither had I, having accomplished the unexpected boon of finding a piece of the Red Queen. I love the music, it's so pretty. We maneuvered through the manor, eventually finding ourselves in a long hallway just as regal as the ballroom. The red carpet rolled out along its length. We found a servant to leave, and we were redirected outward. I retrieved the sealed box with our entrance fee and handed it over. We exited the building and came to a garden. We had taken a wrong turn. It was an elegant garden with plenty of flowers and triangular hedges. In the center was a fountain. Looking around, we spotted an exit at the far end of the garden. The Hatter made to move to leave. I called out to stop her, extending a hand. We didn't have a chance to dance. Would you like to give me the honor of one dance, Hatter? I won't. Well, maybe just one with you, Alice. I made an awkward smile. I can't dance. I'm dexterous with my hands, but not so much with my feet. Hatters don't fit well with these things. Is that a problem? She hesitantly stretched out her hand, fingers hovering over mine. She looks somber. Don't worry, let me lead. I take her hand and we dance, humming in place of an instrumental quartet. I led her in steady steps, ignoring the way she stumbled over my feet. Left, right, left, right. Perhaps this was the most enjoyable dance I had had. I twirled the Hatter around. She was so light. Alice. She still had that lonely, awkward, somber expression on her face. Alice. Hatter. You might not be so bad after all. She made an expression like she would cry. I rather like you, Alice. Alice. I rather liked her too. I gave her another twirl and she let go. I reached out my fingers, but she moved her hands away. The Hatter hopped back with a skip and a spin. Thus, stood by her lonesome. Rise, Alice. Did as she said. I felt her roughly stuff the leg into my arms. I heard a faint tapping noise, reminiscent of footsteps moving away from me. It was nothing. I waited. Waited. Alice, how long did you want to wait for her? I had waited a long time, clutching the leg in my hands. When I opened my eyes, the Hatter was nowhere to be seen. Did she leave me behind? Although I walked around the garden, she was nowhere to be found. I decided to leave as well. One last pass through the gardens, I made my way through the exit. I was back on the forest path. A sudden vertigo struck me. I must have had a long day. I reasoned as I held the hand to my forehead and tried to steady myself. My brain spun like a sloshed up pit of mud. The discomfort in my heart returned. I leaned back against a tree to take a break, looking upward, eyelids flickering. I wondered if the sky had always looked so far away. The sun was beginning to set. It was beginning to enter the picture. My free hand, propped up against the bark, slid downward on. So we fall asleep in the out in the nowhere area, and this is how we're going to get our butts in trouble. I closed my eyes for a moment. Darkness. I feel like the two limbs are going to get stolen, and we're going to have to find them again. Or I made an incorrect choice, and I've hit a dead end. I slowly opened my bleary eyes to the sky. Starry night sky. A terrible headache battered my skull. I felt as if I had forgotten something very important. So disoriented I was, I had no idea where I was. I patted around me and noticed that I still had the limb I had just retrieved with me. My head hurt. Hearing footsteps, I pushed myself in the sitting position and I saw her, Hatter. Around, I found that I was at the Hatter's place. Ah. I started to talk only from my throat to feel like sandpaper. Every time I blinked, my eyelids grew heavy again. chill ran through my body. Uncomfortable, that was all I could say I felt. Although I had experienced quite a bit since Wonderland, I had not even thought I could catch a cold. Don't speak, Alice. You're burning up, so tea for you today. Must have been tea time, or if it was always tea time. However, today the Hatter decided to put tea aside, even at tea time for the sick me. Brought a cup of water to my lips, tilting it for my drink. Choked. Coughing and sputtering, I felt her wipe away the water that had spilled. You drank too quickly, you'll drown. She handed me the cup directly, fingers barely avoiding mine, but also grasping the cup firmly until she knew that I wouldn't drop it. Water slowly, Alice. I've got to get something off the stove. Seeing that I had the cup in hand, I hopped off in the direction of the stove. I thought back to when we first met. At that time, the thing on the stove had been a hammer. I hoped she would bring back something more pleasant. I sipped from the water cup and waited, putting it aside once I finished. She returned with a bowl of porridge in hand. Sitting down next to me, she scooped up the spoonful of porridge and threw it lightly to cool it down. As the porridge temperature settled, she put the spoon towards my mouth. I instinctually opened my mouth like a baby bird. I can eat myself. I'd rather you not cannibalize yourself. Fed me porridge spoonful by spoonful. Once the porridge was finished, she put the bowl away and gave me another cup of water. While letting me sip the water, she wiped away the sweat on my forehead. You're good at taking care of people. Really? Never quite had. My words drifted off into silence as I thought back to what little I had to say about taking care of others and taking care of. Hatter, the limb. I'll put it away for you. You know me so well, Hatter, and I barely keep my eyes open. Rest well. Placed a cool, trembling hand on my forehead. Then into the realm of hypnosis I fell. After a few days of good rest under the Hatter's care, I recovered to full health. I hadn't been sick in years. Thank you, Hatter. What for? Don't linger too long at this crowded place. Off you go. Don't you have a body part left to find, Alice? So I do. Seeing me once more healthy, she away. Back on the forest path, Red Queen was nearly assembled, missing only her head and the fourth limb. Onward I continued in my search so that she could send me home. I was on the forest path, thought back to the Cheshire's taunting provocations. Thinking of her taunting flick, I had no idea where she could be, for she always appeared and disappeared as pleased. I returned to the endless tea party. I had a quick chat with the Hatter to find out. Acquainted with the Cheshire cat. Hatter's eyes narrowed. Cheshire? Hatter moved Dormouse as if she were upset. Harry. Hatter moved the March Hare as if he were as exasperated. Always stays up in the trees. Hatter smiled as she spoke. She's usually around in the northern end of the forest. Cat always says she has business. Can't stay for tea, even though I'd never invited her. Hatter grinned. Yes, we're acquaintances, but definitely not friends. If you're looking for that cat, don't bring her back here. We're low on seats as it is. Sneered. Next thing you know, you'll have to chop it up and fit it in a teapot. You'll have to be chopped up to fit in a teapot. Ta-ta! Trio of one gave me a jaunty wave. Thinking of the Hatter's words, I started off to explore the forest north. I walked down many twists and turns, stumbling across uneven ground. The path was rougher here than the foliage thicker. I found not another living being in sight, no cat nor others. After a while, I reached a place with two signs pointing in opposite directions. One read cliff, the other not a cliff. I let out a chuckle that they were straightforward enough signs. I couldn't see where they led past bushes blocking beyond their arrows. Ding! The ring of a small bell entered my ears, followed by the clatter of metal shackles. Sure, cat. I received no response. Accompanying me here was only the breeze that would sometimes hit the leaves. Oh my goodness. Leaves of the trees around me. I heard a soft rustling noise, and when I looked towards the sound, I saw nothing. I tilted my head to look further upward, and ugh, the world shifted. Air was pushed from my lungs. Black and orange blur crashed down on me with a great momentum from the sky, slamming me to the ground. My head had hit a different way. My skull would have been cracked like a cracked egg on the ground. I moved just in time to harshly bang my shoulder instead. Thought I'd get it done in one shot. Her, Cheshire Cat, filled the spinning field of my view. She wrapped both hands around my neck, digging in with her sharp nails. Her left arm flickered in and out of existence, as if it wasn't really there, creating an imbalanced pressure around my throat. Her grip tightened, drawing blood. Ugh. I couldn't breathe. I squeezed tighter. I tried to pry her fingers off with my own. Twitching hands clawed at her constricting grip and even scratched my own neck. More than the pain of the flesh wound, I was going lightheaded from the lack of air. I just barely forced her off my neck. I wheezed, coughing to catch my breath. She grabbed my collar, gripping on the left flickering in and out, and slammed me back into the ground after lifting me up a little. What? I couldn't even ask her why she was doing that as vertigo overwhelmed me. Kicking and flailing randomly, I managed to push her off for a moment. I had to reorient myself to get to my feet, just rolling away from her somehow. We're going to the cliffway because I'm pretty sure they're opposites. I tumbled through the bushes in the direction labeled as cliff. Signs around here had nonsense written on them many times more than not. As I expected, my chosen direction had no cliff in sight. Look at her design. I shakily got to my feet and watched the cat do so as well. He immediately lunged at me. This time I was more prepared. I kneed her in the stomach as she approached, grabbing her right shoulder and twisting while hooking my feet on hers. Forcing her arm down, I heard a slight cracking, made her fall to the ground with a thump. Just in case, I kicked her away a bit. Her body was light like a cat. I'm waiting for an explanation. She started to fade away, but I stepped on her before she could get away. After a quick struggle, she relented and got up to her feet without any further fading. Cat snarled, dusting off her body. Cheshire Cat frowned. Hadn't realized who you were before. My cloak may have a hood. You've seen my face many times already, Cheshire Cat. Scowled. Wonderland's twisted up in time. Weird. That sort of logic doesn't work here. It's mad, all mad. You might be Alice, but who is Alice? Now that's the question we have to ask. Her lip curled into a mocking smile. To start with, you don't know anything. Do you even know you are Alice? I'm Alice, and that's it. That was my sole truth. She returned a frown, deep in thought. But who in the world is Alice? An outsider? A temporary visitor? I just have to figure out the most important part. You figure it out. I don't suppose you'd tell me. You're... She grimaced in pain. She pressed her hand against her head. Then she put on a jeer. Somehow you're much too similar to the Mad Queen. Oh, about that Mad Queen. You've been looking for her. Let me tell you this. She's been dead for a while now. Although I think you should already know. Scowled. Can't put it into words for some reason. Maybe it's just the way you look at the world, but definitely the same type of person. In which way? Are you just trusting some gut feeling, some delusion that I might be with somebody who I've never met? Or, as you say, somebody who's long dead? Stares at me with determination. This world can't afford another Red Queen, even the chance of one. She vanished, taking the chance in our conversation. Criminals needed to be locked up. I look all around, hearing the faintest sound of her shackles telling me that she was nearby. I could not see her actual presence. Why don't you just do me a favor, Alice? Just go ahead and die. Her voice danced through the air foamlessly. You have no qualification to enact your form of justice, Cat. This really is just like her to say. She appeared behind me and attacked again. We fell to the ground to tussle once more. She clawed me a few times, but I gradually took advantage. Cat favored her right arm. Rather, her left arm acted treatment, in and out of existence, forcing her to avoid relying on it. Her handicap forced her to falter more than my now numb shoulder did. She fought like an animal. To be fair, she was an animal. Clawing and all the likes, she came at me with the intent to kill. We continued till we were both bloodied and bruised. I punched her straight in the face, causing her to bite her tongue and choke up a mouthful of red. Her head bounced on the ground, throwing her next move to prey. I hit the cat again. Doing this with my bare hands wasn't exhilarating as much as a matter of fact. I had decided that preferring this nuisance out of my hair, oh my gosh, I can't read. I noticed that her right arm was gone. Arm felt familiar. It's the Red Queen's. Arm felt familiar, as if it didn't belong to the cat, Alice. Cat was also a thief. I wanted that arm. We're gonna be a bitch, and we're tearing it off. I grabbed hold of the Cheshire Cat's right arm and pulled. Cat screamed, cracked. Quiet for a bit, won't you? Pulled. I heard a myriad of tearing and ripping sounds that human flesh should not make. Screamed herself hoarse, shaking under me. Feeling her erratic gasp, I figured that she could barely breathe. Her eyes dilated, crying, gurgling hard from her throat. I guessed that she must have bitten fully through her tongue. I dug my fingers into the arm more harshly, wrenched it off. Slowly but steadily, I removed the arm from the cat with force. Final squelch, the arm popped off, where it had been attached. The cat also stopped making noises around this. Blood splattered all over me, my clothes, and then thought to retrieve. Really a little annoying. Red dripped all over the grass around us. I sat on her prone body for a moment to rest. I wondered if perhaps I'd gone a little too far. However, it was better to get the trouble out of the way. I wobbled to my feet. I kicked the body, discerning that she was unconscious. Holding the arm in one hand, I dragged the cat along the ground. I left two trails of red behind me, one from the cat and one from the attached arm. In the direction labeled not a cliff was a cliff. What a convenient garbage disposal spot. We're gonna throw her off the cliff. Oh my gosh. I held the cat's body as close to the cliff's edge as I could, placing the arm on the ground to free my hand. I lifted her and flung her off the cliff. An issue was disposed of. Now there was no more Cheshire Cat. I picked up the severed arm. The limb appeared different now that it was detached from the cat. It more resembled its fellow arm, sans a regal torn sleeve. Broken shackle about its wrist fell off without me having to do a thing. Alice, do you recognize this arm? Yes, I answered. This was the Red Queen's arm. A jolt of pain burst through my head. I did not know why I knew. Amidst my agony, I did not have the heart to care. I stumbled, clutching my head. I felt warped and blurred around me. I felt dizzy at the distorted landscape. Perhaps my dizzying self distorted the landscape into an undiluted thing that made me vomit. As my adrenaline drained, the results of the fight began to show themselves. My whole body felt sore. A raging headache pounded at my skull, not subside. Black and red began to fill my vision. Oh, shifted beneath my feet. Be falling, falling, falling. Alice was falling. My world turned to darkness. All I heard was laughter. Thump. At some point, I made my way back to the Hatter's place. Hello, Hatter. I handed over the limb I had just... At least, from what I could tell from the passage of time, it should have been only recently that I'd taken this limb from its past owner. I don't know. Hatter looked at the limb and threw the dog cage with the others. Grinned. With this, you've gathered all of Her Majesty's limbs. So I have. Huh. You look terrible right now, Alice. Again. Her eyes narrowed. Like us. Excuse me. Like us. I'm tired. Hatter smiled. Take a nap. Tea time isn't going anywhere. Not unless time grows back its severed head and walks away, don't you think? We can always talk a little bit later. Thank you. I slumped back into my armchair, sinking into the oddly scented cushions. Alice, this may be the last. Then she looked a little lonely. I almost feel sorry. The dormouse, parched. I won't stop. I can't hear what the Hatter said afterwards over the raging white noise of my headache. My vision blurred, eyes becoming watery, eyelids heavy. I fell asleep. I have a feeling that her head is the Red Queen's head. If she's not like a reincarnation of the Red Queen, then she's gotta be like... She's gotta have a part of the Red Queen. I feel like we're gonna die and the Hatter's gonna like rip our head off. Then I was dreaming, falling, falling, falling into the dream. Tick-tock. The throne. Dark and terrible throne, so horribly cold. Such a lonely throne, but the eye on the throne was arrogant and happy to be alone. I thought even she had someone she loved. Beautiful person. Yes, that person she loved was a beautiful person. So fragile and beautiful that she wanted to slowly tear off that wings. But her love was wrong. She wasn't happy. She would lose everything. Alice, Alice, you were exactly this person. No, I wasn't. I opened my mouth to speak. Yup. I opened my mouth to speak. Blood began to leak from my lips. The sound that came out of it was an empty gurgle. Were you happy? No. I could not talk. I taste. The red dripped down my chin. I felt as if my tongue had been snipped out. Blood choked me. Gasping on nothing but liquid, I grasped at my throat. Alice! I was drowning in this dream. Never happened. Never. When I woke, I forgot all that I dreamed of. Oh, we weren't dying. Okay. I opened my eyes to find an empty feeling in my mind. Disoriented, I rolled off my armchair in which I had gone to sleep, sat up and stifled a yawn, rubbing the bridge of my nose. Blinked again, chasing away the haze. Felt as if I had forgotten something very important. In the meanwhile, the Hatter brought over a decorated cake, much elaborate than the usual snacks of her eternal tea time. It's a cake with cream and fruit, layered even, flowers and pictures carved up with the food ingredient. Only call it a pretty cake. Grinned cheekily, winking. In time for tea, Alice. As I got up from my armchair, the Hatter lightly pushed me back down. My behind landed on the cushion with a soft bounce, but it seemed I could not but sit. He stared at me before sticking a handful of candles into the cake, lighting them with a match. Hatter made a devilish wide grin. Flick, the flames glowed on the head of the match just for a second. After settling the candles, she began clapping her hands so unsteadily to an unsteady rhythm. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Alice. Terribly offbeat, off-balance song. Her voice warped as she came today. darkness flickered in her matched eyes. Happy on birthday? Stand. I couldn't understand. Simply watched as she finished the small clap and pulled the cake a bit closer to me. What is this for, Hatter? Certainly today was not my birthday. Didn't I tell you? Didn't you remember? You got a special prize for bringing me all four limbs, Alice. Since it's not your birthday, it must be your unbirthday. All 364 days of the year. Oh, all 364 days of the year. Pick up a knife. She cut out a slice of cake and slid it over to me. Caught it in a hurry, and soon enough she poured me a cup of tea that too came rushing over. I noticed the hammer on the table right next to the cake knife. Gestured, urging me to have a taste. A calming scent of tea wafted to my nose and mixed with sweet, milky cream. The celebratory cake slice looked so charming I almost felt ashamed to eat. I picked up the cup and tea and took a sip. This is my favorite. After enjoying some tea, I started on the cake. As I ate, the Hatter placed a box before me. She was still sneering. Open your present, Alice. Open. Bash it open. Any way you'd like to. It's gonna be the head. I just have this feeling. Surveyed the box, an old and plain box, big enough to store an animal. Outside, I could not tell what might lie inside. I cracked open a small gap, afraid to disturb what could be hidden inside. Shadows blocked my vision. I saw nothing. I heard a low, round, strange voice, one that sent a chill rolling up my neck. Throbbing headache hit me again. One go, I flung the lid off. It's her head. Just watch, it's gonna be her head. Yep. It's my head. Inside the head. Bloodied head. This looks exactly like our head. A woman. A head. A woman's head. A girl's head. Head that should have been dead. Much too familiar face. Much too foreign face. I quite understand what I was looking at as the world seemed to shift around me. Her matte hair was blonde. Her bloody skin was pale. Her unfocused eyes were not blue. Rather, they were red. Alice, you know who that face belonged to. Alice. What is this? I stumbled to my feet, back away, only to fall back onto the armchair from my loss of equilibrium. It wasn't right. Her face looked just like mine. Almost. Almost. Clutched at my neck and touched my face to make sure I was still there. This was the Red Queen. This was Alice. This is a severed head, Alice. Whose head is this? I wanted to ask, but instead, a strangled cry escaped from my throat. My eyes away from the so-called prize that the Hatter had given to me. Blood at the bottom of the box, sticky and dark. Terrible. I reached a trembling hand to touch it. It wasn't my place to try and close her eyes or put her in peace. The head was still moving, sting with squench. Wish. Wet, ragged sounds of raspy breath echoed to my skull. Jerked my hand back and covered my ears. Away. Now aren't you glad you needn't find Her Majesty's head? As if laughing at me, as if she didn't truly mean that, with an odd tilt of her voice as she spoke of the Red Queen. Hatter confirmed the head's own. Walked over to the Red Queen and flung open the dog cage, popped the limbs onto the torso by attached to flail and grab at the Hatter. This time, prepared and grabbed her hammer. pair of loud bangs hammered nails through the corpse's hands onto the Red Queen's chair. Red drew to the ground, twitched, the body withered. Pain ran up my arms as my stomach churned. I felt dizzy. So she is, yep. Ooh. What? Her. I discovered that I had nothing to say. Even though I always had thoughts racing through my mind, I had nothing to say. Alice, that was why you were worthless. Ask something. Anything. I touched my face to see if my lips had curled up without me thinking to. Didn't you want to leave this place? Now you've found the Red Queen. If you had something you'd like to talk with her about, I'll let you take care of that before I proceed with my own business. She pushed the Red Queen over, scraping on the ground with a hideous squeal, stopped only when I was face to face with the headless, shifting body. Taking the head out of the body, the Hatter put it onto the body. Thin and neat, deformed, contorting till the piece of the neck met exactly what it should, and it all knitted together with something crawling under the skin. Shuddered at the hollow sound made from the corpse as her throat connected. Red Queen looked at me with dead red eyes. Didn't know what she looked terrible. I realized that I hadn't ever asked who killed her like this, nor had I ever stumbled upon the answer the same way I'd found all the limbs. This was the Red Queen. Alice, this was me. The request I had been pondering on, wishes to go back home, the want to ask her for help, they all flew out of my mind. It wasn't right. As I was looking at it, and bloody as it appeared, was not right. I couldn't speak. I did. Mouthing words yet making sound beside the hollow whistle, the crushed Red Queen began to talk without saying a thing. Tongue is oh, we'd have to do that. I want to ask. I tried to find my pulsing pressure back of my head before I could articulate my next inquiry. Better. Where's the Red Queen? I'm gonna bet it was part of the cakes. Or it was the steak. Oh, I didn't want to hear her voice, so I tore it out and fed it to the dogs. The queen wasn't complete without a tongue. Wormed in the chair, like she didn't truly have her soul. Alice, you were so close. The corpse looked upon us with stagnant eyes. And did that mean I made father searching for it then? What were your intentions, Hatter? Am I the Red Queen? At this point, I still knew nothing of the Red Queen, but that she shared my face, and of the various gossips I overheard on the ruler. Alice. Looking at the Hatter's mismatched eyes, I could see what she thought for the first time. He was sneering. Think. Frowned at my island. Let me tell you a story, Your Majesty. I was Your Majesty. The Hatter spoke, she appeared frustrated, angry. A long time ago, in this corner of the Wonderland, there lived a group of 3 friends. A mouse, a hare, and a hatter. We lived far away from the bustling society, usually just coming together for tea. I made hats, and I did mouse and hare things. Once we'd been dragged to perform like clowns for visitors to this, but only once. Her Majesty hadn't quite appreciated our lack of skills. Her Majesty ran a court of law, a strict, some called her, bad queen, whispered. A tyrant, most could not even dare to say. I think this story should be predictable, don't you? So we were called into court one day. The reason? only be judged. She proclaimed us guilty and had us sentenced. I, for no reason, received the lightest of sentences that day. I came away with my neck still intact, not knowing a thing. Thrown into prison and starved. That month, when I came out, the streets were filled with new spilled blood, and two familiar hands rolled my way. Rose feasted on carrion, only given them to be swept away by the Queen's cards. I need to explain further. Perhaps you are blind to death. Dormouse and March Hare are dead. For what? The sole crime of offending our world's tyrant. So Hatter has been all alone for long time. I can never forget the Red Queen. The Hatter's smile disappeared. But she went up and died. Get away like that so easy. Again. You are who you who are the same entity as the Red Queen. I can't let you go. Don't you understand? Stared at me. Better for the sake of my revenge, you have to die, Alice. On the hands, face devoid of mirth as she stepped closer to my eyes with her hair. This is my justice, Alice. Alice. Bye. Raised that hammer in her hand above my head. Death. Why did she about to cry? I was falling. Falling. I was falling. Down this rabbit hole. Start. And I was falling. My skull and brain pieced itself together, twisting, as if going back in time. I re-experienced the pain of having my head caved in with a hammer. I was going mad. Wetness, perhaps tears, perhaps brain matters, rolled down my face. I tried to comprehend. I should have died. Felt as if I was remembering something very important. I landed in Wonderland once more. First person to greet me once more was the White Rabbit. I grabbed at my head. To find no injury. Red. No longer able to differentiate reality. Questioned if I really was hallucinating. Then I was falling again. I died again. Alice. Each time I fell, I came back down. Alice. A hazy world, a distorted world. A world that pollutes its colors. Time and time again. Falling. Seemed to revert the hourglass and turn back the hands of the clock. Each time going into another past. Before I knew it, the rabbit had changed. Majesty. She was a bit more polite. Majesty. Perhaps a bit more cruel in her eyes. A little bit strained with the darkness in her gut. Called out to me each and every time. Majesty. The rabbit was my starting point. My saving point. Falling. I kept falling uncontrollably. Falling, landing, dying, falling. No longer felt as if I had control of even my own body anymore. The world flickered on and it hurt. Dying hurt. But I didn't want to deal with this anymore. Alice, you had to deal with this. I don't want to. I didn't want to. Really didn't want to. I didn't want to deal with this anymore. Again, I felt my body on the ground. As the eyes, I saw a familiar figure. I heard it speak with familiar voice as it murmurs in my ears from around. Faces, words, a single thing I could make out. Before I even had a chance to grab it, a growingly familiar sensation struck me. Sharp agony burning in my arms. I could not finger. Same legs. Chop. There they went. A limb. Or off they went. Off until suddenly I had felt. Soon a blade cut through, sawing as it stuck and stabbed again and again until my head finally. And I was falling again, drowning through the flesh clogged my throat. It had all reattached. I came to a realization. Oh, understood. Alice, what have you understood? I was done. I'd certainly gone mad. I couldn't handle this anymore. If I still wanted to go home, it wouldn't do me any good now. This was an illusion. How long was I supposed to keep falling? Alice, her awake dream, then falling. I decided to stop thinking, and ooh, ah, ah. I opened my eyes to a courtroom, her of fear. Watching, I was simply watching my mother's eyes, sitting in the back of her head without a single single thought in my mind as I was watching. She stood in the courtroom, arm thrust before her, a mild smile on her face. Wore a regal red dress, adorned with gold and black and red ribbon. Her hair was blonde, her skin pale, her eyes were red, certainly blue. Behind her stood the White Rabbit. It was quite straight, mad green face with mad papers roll in her majesty. The body moved without me thinking to do. I no longer cared to do. The body talked without me saying anything. I no longer. It didn't matter. If I could have, I would have stopped watching. It was not because of the sights were horrific or because I no longer wanted to deal with everything. Not even the matters of the Red Queen. A dog, a bird, a girl, a boy, a person who was neither. Her, a father, an elderly. I won, they judged, begged, some cried, some fought, accepted their fates. Rabbit read out their crimes for show, allowing for the Red Queen to proceed. However, only one result: guilty. At some point, she began to laugh. At some point, I began to laugh. As ruler, I have sovereignty over my citizen. At the same time, responsibility to make this kingdom prosper. Prosperous kingdom must have law and order, do understand. Off to the gallows. Be glad for mercy, criminal. Glory to Her Majesty for her benevolence. Cards, bring the next one in for Her Majesty. The accused was reported by her brother-in-law for engaging in gossip and planning treason against the crown by speaking to Her Majesty. A simple sentence, a simple beheading for the bird. Bring her away. Cards. Accused of evading taxes. She was also stealing from upright citizens, assaulting merchants, and spreading rumors about Her Majesty's state of mind. Apprehended recently, the cards were unable to capture her previously. Break her legs. Her Majesty is truly brilliant. For her sentence, cut off her arms so that she cannot commit crimes any longer. afterlife? Throw her into prison to await an execution by skinning. What will a cat rug look without arms? Criminal skin is much too rough for a good rug. Off with the cat. Snapped her finger, putting the cat's arms from the body and execute the cards for failing to catch her before. We have no cards. Next. Red Queen. I don't know if she was happy. While she's convicted the accused, I inadvertently began to lose track of my surroundings, only to be jolted back to a particularly interesting sentence. The accused. Before the rabbit finished speaking, the accused rushed the Red Queen. Red Queen gestured with her hand. Unforeseen power slammed the criminal down to the ground, creating a crack on the marble flooring of the courtroom. Presumptuous. Horse tore fingertip-sized meat by piece of the criminal, yet withering on the floor as it rolled around, trying to get her to stop. Forgotten who you belong to. Red Queen finished once the criminal was ripped to pieces. A pile of red pulp on the ground to be swept away by the cards. I was smiling. Red Queen was smiling. Next. Maid continued, and the courtroom was devoid of life. She worked on paperwork after courts. Between stacks, she conversed with the ministers, sweat nervously each time she met their big eyes. Finishing up her important documents, go for a brisk practice swinging sword here and there. Giving the Red Queen a towel and water, the rabbit asked if she wanted to visit the White Queen today, which the Queen decided against. Dinner time soon. Sat in a large dining room, head of a long table, alone. A sumptuous meal was served with red wine before her, but she didn't share it with. Tasted all right. More importantly, been poisoned. Enough use, still too much, so that the meat began to lose charm and turned into a mediocrity. Red Queen called the chef over. His eyes darted around mildly, knowing we had no way to escape. His legs shook as he fell to his knees, begging to beg. Red Queen poured from the decorative armor into a room, off with his head for daring to poison the queen. Watching as the servants cleared away the chef's room, turned to her meat, quickly replaced. She drank a sip of wine, poisoned wine. Today she returned to the courtroom. One by one, the numbers diminished again, even those in spared, if slight to slight. Rabbit smiled with glee, writing down the names of the criminals who were to be executed. Not a few job herself, an axe in hand and belching in blood. Red Queen enjoyed the judgment court. Wonderland was her domain, and her peace. They became disobedient, then she would never let them throw her possessions into Ray. Days she didn't go without governance. Other days she did, working on her world's peace. These times continued until one day the Red Queen fell asleep. I was still awake. Curling my finger, I discovered I was in control. I walked over to the balcony, ground terribly far away. I lifted myself over the balustrade and threw myself off. Air rushed past my face. Splat! Falling, falling, falling. I was falling again. I'm interstice between different worlds was still incomprehensible as before. Body knit together from its mangled form and wonderland. Falling straight onto a table. Bam! Going a lot longer than I thought it was going. I had returned to an iteration of Hatter's Place. Sprawled out on the table, I glanced upward, saw a familiar pair of mismatched eyes. Unfamiliar. Jumped, looking surprised. I know you. No, not quite. But you get off the table. I do not need to put the tea and snacks. I do need to put down the tea and snacks at some point, if you understand. Held. Hatter seemed different, as if a heavy weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Shifting real quick. Oh. Over so I can got off the table and stood awkwardly around a familiar, unfamiliar place. Hatter set down her teapot. She was preparing a tea party of sorts, causing me to realize that I'd never seen her do the setup, as things were always already on the table. What's your name? Alice. I'm Alice. Should be Hatter. Mm-hmm. She formed her lips into an O. Is there somewhere you need to go so badly that you nearly broke my table? No, I've nowhere. Well, why don't you take a seat? No one uses that armchair over there. Much too armchair, they said. You know how armchairs are, right? Wide smile. I hesitantly approached my armchair. The chair looked newer than in my before. Sat in it, I sank into the soft cushion. Even though it reminded me of the hammer through my skull, the chair did nothing wrong. I clutched my chest. You aren't having tea? What time is it? This person hated me. Perhaps she did not hate me yet in this moment that we were meeting now, but she hated me all the same in the future, my present. I shouldn't have cared. My heart hurt. Clock says 15 minutes before 4. It's almost tea time. Maybe it already is. I'm waiting for March Hare and Dormouse, so it's certainly not yet tea time. Tea time, after all, is just a state of mind. I see. You look sad, Alice. Do I? I raised my hand to my face, touching my cheek, certainly not smiling. What's your favorite tea? She retrieved a tea set to place on the table, bringing not 3 cups, but 4. 1 cup and saucer was placed before me. I enjoy black tea. Recently, I've grown fond of Earl Grey. What about you, Hatter? She winked. I like any tea, but I also rather like Earl Grey. Not sure why it's an Earl rather than a Count or a Duke, but I'm sure the tea tastes best in Earl. I've heard that it's named after a minister. Or perhaps the minister was named after the tea. Fancy that. Your name is Grey, so Her Majesty tells you to become Earl Grey. The Hatter looked happier. A film of water built up in my vision, turning it blurry. Must have gotten something in my eye. Hiccup bubbled in my throat. Water wouldn't stop. Though still smiling, she started to look worried. But why are you crying? Tears rolled down my cheeks as I hurriedly tried to wipe them away with my hands. The Hatter looked completely concerned now. I really can't explain, but it's just so odd. Awkwardly, she smiled. Eat cake. Like cake? Would you rather a sandwich, or maybe something salty? If you're lacking in salt and sugar, you'll go a little crazy like that. She poured me a cup of tea and passed me some cake with a set of utensils she was just getting out. She gave me a caring look. It tasted good. Drinking the tea and eating the cake, I noticed a much more amateurish flavor than my Hatter, future Hatter, would make. However, it tastes good, and maybe it tastes happier. My shoulders shook up and down for a while. I cried for the longest time I had ever cried since I was a toddler, rubbing my eyes pink. Once my tears stopped, I cleared my throat and averted my eyes from the Hatter. Compliments to you, Hatter. The Hatter beamed. Why, thank you. We sat together in peaceful silence for a while afterwards before she turned her head and exclaimed, There they are! You're so freaking cute. A sleepy little mouse in a hare with a straw hat approached from the forest path. They look just like the little puppets my hatter wore often on her hand, laughing at me in curiosity. Not laughing. Looking at me in curiosity, they took their seats at the table. I guess. Looks like a pest. Be rude, March. Three's already a crowd. No room, no room. Three's a crowd, but four's a party. If we ever get 5, then, well, we can think about that later. Don't make a girl cry, March. This is Alice. This is March Hare. And this is the Dormouse. Hatter poured some tea for both of them. They began to chat, glancing towards me and tugging me into the conversation. Excuse me. Even as their ramblings devolved into nonsense. Halfway through each topic, the Dormouse seemed to off and dip her little nose into her tea by accident. My eyes are watering. Had her make you cry, Alice? She's a lady killer, she always known it. Dormouse. Dormouse. Wake up for the gossip. I'm right here, March. She looks like butter. Yellow hair. Butter. She looks a little silly with her brains being all churned up, but she looks like good butter. Couldn't help but crack a slight smile at their antics. Sunny than buttery. Want butter, Alice? No, thank you. I'm quite all right. That aside. Psst. Alice. Alice. March Hare and Dormouse pulled me to the side for a private conversation. Hatter seems to fancy you. Correctly. Is your voice? Dormouse, Dormouse, shh. My line, own line. Now can you? It's right that Hatter looks fondly upon you. You seem nice. Kinda dumb. She seems nice. I still approve. I'm just saying, alright? Kind to Hatter. Good to our Hatter. We can't be around her forever, so you have to promise us, Alice. I have a feeling very important. Swear it on a stick of holy butter. I won't be here for very long, but no, I promise it. I swear on everything that could ever be promised to me that I'll treat her well if we meet again. Back to bed. Dormouse, Dormouse. Return to the Hatter. The 4 of us continued chatting over tea. I enjoyed tea time talk, I really did, yet I didn't belong here. I didn't deserve here either. I knew that my presence would throw everything into gray. Finishing my tea, I stopped for the Hatter from refilling my cup. Hatter shaped her mouth into an O. I had a wonderful time today. I have to leave. The place isn't... The tea again, Hatter. You too, Dormouse. Hatter smiled. Meeting you, Alice. I already knew you from the future, but I was also happy to see you, Hatter. It's a shame that my Hatter didn't feel the exact same. Alice, feel for the Hatter. Something precious. Hatter winked with a cheeky grin. Later. I want her to be happy. Giving her a weak wave, I left a happier Hatter. I didn't particularly have a place to go. Home was no longer my goal. Walking away, I wiped away tears that had welled up again. Eventually, I was falling again. I died, that much I understood. However, I seem to have forgotten how I died this last time. Anyway, I knew that I couldn't keep doing this. Alice, this was your last iteration. The power letting you keep falling had already run out. The next time, you wouldn't come back to Wonderland. Anytime. As my body pieced itself back into place, I waited for myself to stop falling. I burst back into my relative present Yeah, my relative present and hit the ground softly. Lying back on the ground, I grasped at the grass below me. Cut my fingers with their blades. Above me, the sky was terribly blue. No matter who I was, the world moved on without me. However, the people could not so simply move on. Be it a matter of hate, or a matter of love, or just a matter of apathy, connections people had were to serve. Before I realized it, a certain person settled into my heart. See Hatter. My Hatter. Alice, you really are no good. No, it's better to say that I really am no good. I had already fallen for that Mad Hatter. She wormed her way into my heart unintentionally as she took me on a wild duck chase for the Red Queen's dismembered parts in her revenge. I wonder how she felt now that she had her goal fulfilled. The final look on her face when I saw before I died was painful. Well, not because of the crushing of the soul, because of the constriction of my heart as I looked at her. A strange girl, a lonely girl, ultimately a terribly kind girl who had stumbled along a bloody path. That was who the Hatter was. I'm sorry. I pushed myself up. Unless Alice had a want, not one of obligation, one of what should be. Because really, had I really wanted to go home, not one that the tutors or anybody would force upon her. I went to find the Hatter. I started walking. I started running. Forest path once more. There she was, all on her lonesome. Bags under her eyes had not lightened at all. Restlessly played with the rim of her teacup until she suddenly saw me. Frowned deep. Harshly stood up. Why did you come back? Came enraged. Why can't you just disappear? Grabbing a plate off the table, ignoring the pastry atop it, she chucked it at me. Smash! Brushed me and shattered into the ground. Mangled sweets and porcelain. Alice! Alice! Slammed the table, originally forcing her hands down with a great momentum, before suddenly slowing down as she smacked it. Wincing, the Hatter let out a pained, guttural noise. Why are you like this? I hate you, Alice. She clutched her chest and glared at me with murky, watery eyes. Why are you like this? I had no answer. She had a conflicted, wobbly. You're contradictorily cruel, kind. You're messed up, Alice. Just choose one thing to be, you heartless woman. I like you, but I also hate you. I also liked her. I loved her. I became enraged. You're a useless freeloader who just came to bother me. Waste of space. I became flustered. You're Alice who always accompanies me and extended a hand to me. Hatter began to cry. You're the Red Queen. Monster. Killer. I hate you. Yelled as she cried, furious tears running down. Why couldn't you have properly died? I killed you. You're the same thing as the Red Queen. You shouldn't have come back. You picked up a teacup and threw it at me, smashing me right in the forehead. I stumbled back. Hot tea spilled down me, mixing with the blood that came from the simple flesh wound. The cup itself shattered into tiny pieces of the ground. Go away! I grabbed the bloody hammer off the table and flung it, missing me by a far margin. It whooshed through the air, spinning, and lodged itself deep into a tree behind me. Blood was still on the metal face. Tell me who you're supposed to be. I am Alice. Hatter raised her brow. The Red Queen and I are one and the same. I am Alice. Her essence is intertwined with mine, but I am me. The idea that we could be the same. I never wanted to become someone like her. Empty heart, empty life. Even as she lashes out at the rest of the world, she's still empty. Admittedly, also no good. I'm a heartless person who hurts others as well. But I just hold two certainties. I am Alice. Alice is me. And for the one who I am, Alice, you are the person in my heart. Is it okay to say I'm Alice? I nervously fiddled with my fingers behind my back. Looking at the Hatter as my heart raced. I couldn't read her expression behind those mismatched eyes. Her eyes with her sleeve, opening her mouth time and time again, she seemed to have trouble finding her words. I like the Alice who is Alice. The Red Queen scares me, but let me believe it. I want to believe that you are Alice. I made a tired frown, brows furrowed, upset. Ever since March Hare and Dormouse left, I was stopped at tea time like a curse. Tired of tea, cried out. Is my life just revenge on the Red Queen? I looked up at the sky as if lost. Red Queen is dead. Deliberately mouthing the word slowly again. She seemed to convince herself of the reality. Then she looked back towards me, gave me a somber smile. Alice. You are Alice. That smile disappeared as quickly as it came. She looked furious now. Her voice grew small and she gazed downward at her feet. I hurt you. I know. I extended a hand towards her. She who was all alone. She who stood so close, yet so far away. Her to take my hand. We're both problem children. Perhaps I was a little mad. Slowly walked before me, my hands as if seeing something foreign. She raised her brow up a bit. Lifting her arm up, she reached out with her hand. Her fingers trembled and hovered over my hand. For a moment, she retracted her. Placed her hand in mine. I love you, Hatter. Alice stared at me, trying to discern the truth of my words. With a deep, shaky breath, she gave me her response. Smiled. I love you too. Would you like to accompany me for a dance? Give me a kiss and make me happy. She asked me just 3 things. Can't make you happy. I wish that I could fulfill the 3 of her requests. A physical item or a physical deed, those I could easily accomplish. But one of the heart, I knew not if I could. I don't know if we can make each other happy, but I placed a kiss upon her lips. Frowned. It's fine. Even if I have no ability to promise, I want to let you be happy. You are my best. The Hatter smiled somberly. I want you to be happy, Alice. That makes me happy. Said me fondly. Not just like this. More so. Oh, look how cute they are! I took her hand and we danced upon the table. Spinning around, our feet filled with the tablecloth, and tea was strewn about. She pulled her hat off for a moment and sad smile. Hatter, if the world were to end tomorrow, what would you do? I have nothing left for me, Alice. I suppose I'd do nothing. You're still right here with me, aren't you? She was so light. I wish I could show you my world. It's not a particularly spectacular world, rather utterly unfantastical. Yet, there were things that I liked. Maybe my siblings are better, the 2 cats, if you have cats at all. I would like that. I pulled her along, leading the mad dance. There's no music, the erratic tempo of our hearts together. Alice. Why did you fall in love with me? It was just fate. It was just luck. Meeting you time and time again here. I grew fonder of you. First, I simply thought you were lonely. Eventually, I fell in love with your heart. Love I'll never know about love before. Excuse you. Don't dig at the carpet. I'm having an emotional moment here, and you're ruining me. Love I've never known for love before. Not sure if I can explain why my heart beats as it does for you, Hatter. Even that aside, you're cute. Cook and sew and brew good tea. You're warm, actually rather kind. What about you to me? I should ask that of you instead. Happiness, probably. We had no such fate, but we wished for it. Finally, we fell. Falling, falling, falling. We were falling down this rabbit hole. Start or end. We were falling together. I knew not where we would fall, for there would be no more wonderlands for us to fall. That world we just fell from had been the very last iteration. I embraced the Hatter and closed my eyes. Warm she was, the person I treasured. I only asked for the world where we could be happy together. Surely we would meet again in a land more wonderful than this. Somewhere, sometime, surely. Cute. I liked that. It was very cute. And almost exactly 3 hours. So cute. I saw 60% of the script. Oh, cool. That was very good. That was very, very enjoyable. It was really nifty. I liked that. There we go. Look, so this is the White Queen. Mad Hatter. The hair. And then our wonderful, delightful, asshole-ish cat. So pretty. Pretty. Those are some of the things that I had seen. And then I'd seen these moments. I still have 3 more. So those ones will probably come for when I do the White Queen's ending, and I'll probably do that on my own. That was good. That was a lot of fun. That was really, really good. They're all so pretty. I love them. And then we got just one more song I haven't gotten yet. I love that. It says Alice. Alice Clockwork. Nice with you. And then I got this as my ending. Apparently there's maybe 6 endings? 7 endings? Yeah, because there's dead ends too that you can do. Okay. I'll be playing this more often, but probably just on my own time. For a free game, this one was a lot of fun. This one was very good. I do highly recommend. distracted. Little yes. But thank you everybody for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful evening. I am going to hop offline. I didn't see anybody hop on. So I'm just going to head offline. I will be back tomorrow. I don't know what I'm playing yet. I've got to figure that out. I might see if I can find another like visual novel. I want to do another visual novel. Still technically Valentine's Day week, and those usually have some sort of romance. Or I might go feral and play something else very random and have people judge me. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Thank you again, everybody who joined me today. Thank you for like just being here. This was a lot of fun. This is such an interesting story. I had a lot of fun playing it. I hope you guys all have a wonderful evening, and I will see you all next time. I'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Bye, everyone. Have a great evening.